chasing twilight on and on, without a clue, without a sign, without grasping yet the real questions to be asked. Where have I been? I'm a shapeshifter at post masquerade, hiding both face and mind, or free for you to draw. I'm a shapeshifter, what else should I be? Please don't take off my mask, revealing dark. Moments of calm, nothing left to be found. A mirror right in front of me, that's where I find an empty glass, reflecting the sad truth. It's telling words not to be told. I need the mask. I'm a shapeshifter at post masquerade, hiding both face and mind, or free for you to draw. I'm a shapeshifter, chained down to my core. Please don't take off my mask, my place to hide. I can't tell you how to see me, just a cage of bones, there's nothing inside. Will it unleash me, burning down the walls? Is there a way for me to break? I'm a shapeshifter at post masquerade, hiding both face and mind, or free for you to draw. I'm a shapeshifter, have no face to show. Please don't take off my mask, my disguise.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome thee to the stream. My name is Mr. Yagami, and we are here to play, well, play World of Warcraft, and discuss furthermore the topic that I brought the past days. So, as I set up things, let us move on and continue our journey. Can I be guest in your glorious podcast? Yeah, if I have a podcast, then you would be a co-host, not a guest. Oh yeah. As I'm eating dry crackers, which is not good for the stream. Yeah, let me mute this. Probably making weird sounds. Yeah. I just muted because I was eating, so of course you cannot hear me. But now you can. Can't be making weird ass noises. This is not stupid ASMR. Well, I'm fine with ASMR, to be honest. It's just that some of these ASMR weird things are just too cringy to be real. I have no idea how people can find people chewing loudly ASMR. That kills me, shreds me inside. I hate loud chewing noises. Natural ones are fine. You can't, there's no noise cancellation in your ears, but yeah. Oh, speaking of which, have you seen the new headphones by our good friends Apple that costs almost $600? There appears to be something here. We'll read it. Oh, gold. Thank you. This didn't sell. I need to adjust the price. And this didn't sell. I also need to adjust the price. Same as these. Okay, these got... Okay. Also need to adjust the price. That's fine. No, more gold for me. Yeah. I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing. Soon they'll be selling the phone and you get to the screen and the camera and their own, yeah. Each costing $1,000. Yep, that's Apple. That's Apple, right? What's this? Oh, that's a crafting reagent. Okay, so do I need to go to Ogrimmar? It would appear so. And who are you? Oh, unidirectional gift distribution threshold has been reached. Thresholds reset daily. Blinktron 6000. Oh, gifts. Binds when picked up. While I'm programmed for gift distribution, okay. Let's see what this gift is all about. Oh, good. Binary code. Okay. And some sellable stuff and a potion. Yeah. Interesting. Let's party. Oh, the heck happened? I'm all dressed. Where is the party? Are you sure you want to go to the party? It's still probably very far away. No. I'm not interested in the party right now. I wanna go to Ogrimmar first. After going to Ogrimmar, we'll try to resell the garbage that we have, and then we'll talk about things. Today's subject is still loot boxes, as we discussed in the previous stream, and I'm gonna be watching a video that you will probably not be liking. That it's by our dear friend Jim Sterling, and you're not a big fan, but you know what? He brings a lot of valid points, so I want to start with that and move on. There's many things I've discovered as I'm researching the subject, so we'll try to bring more light into this as we do the things that we are doing. Okay, so here's Ogrimmar. Like this place, of course, as usual. Pretty amazing vista. They did a good job with the world. Old Jim Sterling I like. New Jim Sterling, I don't know what the heck happened. He went to see some sort of a therapist, and the therapist kind of influenced his mind or something. I don't know. video making process changed a lot, and he's becoming a bit too soft. I like the old one much better. I'll leave this cracker for later. Yeah. The best crackers in the country currently. So I believe. Okay. As my character is rendering, let's move forward. Let's move forward. It would appear that my appearance changed. Oh, yeah, fine. I'm fine with it. This is good. As long as I have my stuff, then I'm fine with this. And why am I restoration? Let's go balance. I'd probably do dungeon, so it'll switch for later. I'll switch this later. It's fine. Usually it's switch automatically, but there's no problem in it. And there's the auction house.
I know a buyer when I see one.
Okay. We need to sell this garbage. And it's 90. Let's put it at 80. These are pointless, so I'm not going to be trying to sell them. This is a potion used, infuses your body with the resilient energy. Okay. Oh, this is 60. Okay, time to sell. This is 38. Increases movement speed. Psycho prompt. Yeah, I think I'll keep this one. It looks interesting. $14. This is weird. Cannot auction and cannot auction. 79. Yeah, it's bound to me. Yeah, I know. But this is not bound to me, and it's 164. Boss AX, welcome to the stream, brother. Hello. Hello again. 164, 165. Okay. So as you can see, boss, I'm just doing some a few things, and then we'll get to the subject that we want to get into. Create auction. What's this? Yep. Cannot auction, and I cannot, and I can. 108. 70. Go. I think this is all we have for now.
If you ever need anything.
The rest is gonna come later. Now back to Ori boss. Then we move on. Our boss is this way. Can't remember which portal used to be here. Is this our boss? Yup, this is. Okay. I needed to check. You never know about with these things. Okay, so this is a good place to sit, so we'll sit here. Alright, so this is the video that I want to watch. Let's stop the boring music. I like it and I don't like it at the same time. So, stop this. Okay. Don't switch. Goodbye. And yeah. Oh, so okay. Should be good. Yep. All right. So let's see this. So this is a video about the addictive cost of predatory video game monetization by the Jimquisition. I found it interesting as I was researching these things, so let's give it a watch and we'll see.
We do think the way that we have implemented these kind of mechanics, and FIFA, of course, is our big one, our FIFA Ultimate Team and our packs,
That's so
is
cringe.
actually quite ethical
Really?
and quite fun.
Unethical.
Today's Jimquisition, both personally and professionally, is an important one. You could almost say this one is the biggie. This is the result of me having spent a lot of time talking to Jimquisition viewers who have been kind enough to share their own stories. This is the result of me watching on in utter disbelief as the game industry proudly boasts and gloats about the ways in which it psychologically hooks people into unethical, unnecessary, aggressive video game monetization. This episode, more than any other, should indicate to you, should portray to you, should explain to you exactly why I am so committed to expressing my disgust towards the so-called AAA industry.
No, yeah, no, of course, so far he's right. And it got me thinking, okay, why is no one, or has no one ever spoke about this really? Why is everyone is just okay? Oh, we know that these are loot boxes, we know that these are gambling stuff, we know these are predatory things, but we still do it. We love it. It's like basically most of the gamers that do this are just basically addicts and they don't want to get rid of that addiction. Especially in video games that I am involved in, for example, like in Path of Exile. The amount of MTX prices in Path of Exile are seriously high. And you'd think that people are not going to be spending money doing that, but trust me, they do, and they spend so much money just to get nothing. And it's not buying a set, because you can buy sets of gear, you can buy armor, you can buy many things. And that at least it's not something that is random. At least it's just spending an amount of money to get something that you desire. No, they will spend so much money on loot boxes that give them nothing. And there are multiple videos posted about this on the Path of Exile subreddit, telling them that this is wrong, and yet no one cares. They will just talk about this for a second and they just move on.
This is a video on the internet. Please enjoy. Addiction is a disease defined by compulsive use of a substance or pattern of behaviour that one cannot stop, even as it has a severe negative consequence on a person's quality of
life. Yeah. So it's not just consuming tobacco or drugs or anything. It's also things that, the habits, bad habits usually. And bad habits have a wide range. It's not just consuming drugs. And that's where the line gets blurry.
life. The most famous form of addiction is of course uncontrollable drug use, as people all too easily can find themselves dependent on any number of chemical substances. Non-chemical addiction can be just as harmful, and because there is no exterior chemical component to point at as the villain, it's often misunderstood in a way that directly harms the addict. Sex addiction, for example, is often portrayed as people just being horny miscreants hiding behind an excuse for infidelity and similar indiscretions. things. Those with eating disorders are dismissed as greedy, while on the opposite end of the spectrum, compulsive exercising is often overlooked because, hey, exercise is good for you, right? Not if you
Yeah, well, exercise addiction is still not a thing for us because not many exercise, but it's on a rise. The newer generation find it pretty compelling to exercise, which is good. It's not bad, but with it, competitiveness comes into nature, and with it, a form of addiction is probably started to form. Some people are addicted to the gym. I know it's a weird concept, but it exists. And let's not even begin talking about food addiction. We are so addicted to food. There is no denying this. And the rise of the fast foods and the restaurant chains in our country is a very, very telling sign of this. You can see it happening. The obesity meter in our country is also on the rise. People overweight. You used to find one or two in, a big space, but nowadays they are visible, and that's a warning sign. It's not at all. What's not at all? You need to. What? You need a negative effect, physical or mental, to be considered an addiction, as an addiction. Yeah. Overeating makes us fat. Fat makes us, dying basically. As a long list of diseases and issues. As for exercise, well, I'm not talking about people who just exercise normally. I'm talking about people who over-exercise, tear their muscles, do surgeries, take pills, take steroids, take things that ultimately down the line, like you said, have a negative aspect on their lives. You can easily turn anything that is supposedly positive into negative. And that's where the addiction factor comes in. Just like in video games. You can be playing video games and they can be absolutely fine, but you can do certain negative behaviors and negative video games turn into addiction. It's normal. Gym addiction. Yeah, I know. It's the gym addiction that we are talking about currently. But the gym addiction is very...
You're doing it so much that you're actually tearing your body apart.
Oh, there we go. He just said it.
Meanwhile, those with gambling problems or shopping addictions are all too easily written off as idiots who can't handle their money correctly. Non-chemical addiction is no less destructive than drug addiction, and I can speak from experience with both.
You can tear a muscle on your first training session. Yes, you can, but if you do this correctly, it's fine. I'm not talking about tearing a muscle randomly, because you did something wrong. I'm talking about people who tear their muscles intentionally. I'm talking about the people who exercise so much that it visibly destroys their body, and yet they will continue doing it. Those people exist. George Foreman is one of those. We know him. He's a very well-known bodybuilder.
I was in
He talked about this himself in the Joe Rogan podcast.
constant chronic pain for over 2 years with a spinal hernia, for which the only genuine treatment I got for the most part was armfuls of painkillers, which after 2 years became a severe dependence. At the same time, I've had friends cope with chemical addiction and sex addiction, and among my many non-chemical vices is a workaholism issue that sees me pour a dangerous, unhealthy amount of my self-esteem and sense of identity to the quality and success of the work I put out there. And
I think we can agree that our country does have a caffeine addiction. We do consume a lot of coffee, and we just don't talk about it. There are many people who cannot function correctly without taking multiple coffee, coffee cups a day. And of course, that goes with nicotine addiction, and they have it. They talk about nicotine as being addiction, but it's rare to see people talk about coffee as an addiction. Even though it has caffeine, and caffeine is kind of like nicotine. Kinda. Not as harmful, but still.
And in many cases, such as mine, there are deeper psychological issues which addictive behaviour is used to cope with. My doctor, for example, cited hypomanic depression as a root cause for my abuse of drugs, a story all too common for too many people. Societal misunderstanding regarding addiction can compound the problem, but there are hundreds of thousands of businesses out there that do understand the power of addictive behaviour all too well, and use that understanding to make money. One such industry is the video game industry, which has seen revenue skyrocket by billions since the widespread use of gambling mechanics, raking in cash off the back of those who need help.
And here's the deal. We talked about this also when we were talking about the addiction and me trying to do some research. And I was thinking, okay, loot boxes in Overwatch are a thing. And there are people who actually, go for these loot boxes. For me, I've never really considered loot boxes a thing in Overwatch. I just look at them. Sometimes I do get them. And I open them. There are sometimes a good skin, a bad skin. It doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter for me. I'm more concentrated on the video game than the loot boxes. I never found the need to chase a particular skin in Overwatch, or never found the need to try to buy loot boxes in order to have a skin I desire. If I can do it, I do it. If I don't, I really don't care. And at the end of time, I don't know, I can easily get the skin eventually. But some people have serious addiction to, loot boxes, to Overwatch loot boxes. They are too attached to them. They spend money buying them. And for me, that is strange. But like I said, we talked about this and you said it's about being inclined to do this. It's not Overwatch, but I do admit, Path of Exile piqued my interest. And piquing my interest is enough for me to spend money and fall into the trap of the gambling system.
Not animated
Munir, salam. Wa alaikum salam. Welcome to the stream, brother.
treasure chests help to get themselves to a better place. But it isn't just loot boxes, they're an offshoot of microtransactions, and they themselves can be part of the problem. They themselves use psychological...
Okay, this is a famous picture that I've seen before, but seriously, it's outright right here in this game that I forgot the name of it, but it's a popular one nevertheless. This is no time to be stingy, spend a few more gems and instantly rush the building of this trap. Seriously. I mean, imagine a kid reading this. What do you think they're going to do? Spend money. Just spend money. They don't know. They know no better.
Logical tricks, manipulation to encourage compulsive spending, to appeal to compulsive shoppers.
I mean, look at this. I find them always using the point system, because it appears that the point system gives you a false sense of, I mean, look at this, $89, $90 basically, and it gives you 15,000 points. You feel like you have so much, but in reality, you don't. That's nothing compared to the $90 that you spent. And you'd think that people in our country don't spend this. Well, as it turned out, they do. They do. And I'm not talking about wealthy. I'm talking about people who are working normally. I'm talking about parents allowing their children to spend this amount of money. You don't feel it, but it's there and it happens. And you need to contact people that sell these kind of things and they will tell you these stories. Because there is this argument that no, in our country now, because we can't spend money, we don't really have the online payments, we don't really have, we're not subjugated to this predatory system. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And it's horrifying because we are seriously kind of a virgin market and we're not immune to, let's just say, basic predatory business. We haven't had the experience yet. So these are easily working on us. Some other people in some other countries have seen this before, so they don't really fall into this trap unless they're addicts and they're adamant on this. But for us, it's a virgin market where anything can happen and anything bad can easily work. And that's a really, really red line and an alarming thing.
A huge amount of mobile games and microtransaction-led AAA games make the majority of their money from whales. The tiny percent of players who spend thousands of dollars on a single game. Who are these whales?
Oh yeah, the whales. Oh yes. It's the people that spend a ton of money. And I know he's going to talk about this because there's this picture of someone who's supposedly, wealthy. But the thing is, whales aren't wealthy people. Whales are poor people. Whales are people who are working jobs in order to do anything to spend the money on the things they want. And again, I am trying to make my conversation and my argument only about my country. We can't talk about other countries because they have more access to these things and more access to money in general. So they probably will be spending much more than us. But still, these people do exist even in this country. Some of them are even my friends. Some of them, they have other means of, they don't really spend money per se, but they spend their time and they do a lot of grinding in order to get what they need.
Are they just rich kids with more money than sense? Sure, some of them will be, but not all of them. Maybe not even most of them. Just look up the stories of the people who get themselves into debt over FIFA games.
Now here's where we really get into my country. FIFA. And we know how FIFA is popular here. I think beside PUBG Mobile and maybe Free Fire and some perhaps Fortnite or Call of Duty Warzone, FIFA is seriously trenched deep in our country. I know a lot of people who play FIFA. I know a lot of people who talk about the cards and the trading and buying these things. So, and of course, this is a country that basically worships football. So, it is only logical for FIFA to thrive here. Now, this is the juicy stuff.
Or the children who get their parents into debt over such titles. And some of these spenders, some of these whales, may indeed be addicts. They may
We can have a conversation on Discord when you're done with the video. Got things to say and I can't type it all. Yeah, Roger.
be depressed people looking for a temporary high. Some of them may have had their addictions actively egged on by complete fucking scumbags like Tribe Flame CEO Tora Fjernström.
I think you know this guy, Tyler. I think we know about the company that makes the mobile games where this guy works for.
Whose gleefully malevolent lecture, Let's Go Whaling, is a proud...
I kind of need to watch this lecture because I can't believe that he's talking about these things just like that.
Proudly offered confession of exactly how low the game industry will sink to prey on both gambling and shopping addicts.
Some of you will probably be slightly shocked by all the tricks I have listed here, but I'll leave the morality of it out of the talk. We can discuss it if we have time later.
Oh yeah, shocked is the word. And when I watched this 19-minute celebration of exploitation, I understood exactly why morality was left out of it, because there is no fucking morality here. Jernström lays out exactly how addiction plays a role in so-called whale hunting, describing how the upsale of player convenience gets people forming habits around a video game. This technique is known as hook, habit, hobby, and I'll let Torolf explain it.
Hook, habit, hobby. This is a model from Dmitry Dravanov of Flare Games. It's a model for how people progress in a game. The hook is what gets you into the game to try out a free-to-play game. Then you build it into a habit that you play multiple sessions every day. And then at the end, it's the hobby phase where people see it as one of their main hobbies and they put lots of time and resources into it.
So that's the thing. This is exactly the thing. I think this is why I decided to watch this video. Because just single-handedly, just for this, it's because this is not made by someone who's ignorant. It's not something that people stumbled upon. It's made by people who did their research, who did their homework, who understand how this whole thing works. So if you're thinking in your head, nah, it's not going to work on me, think again. It will. And it will cause you as much problems as anyone living anywhere on this planet. Even more so us than perhaps others, because these kind of addictions are tied into other mental problems. And in our country, we do have a good set of mental issues that we need to deal with on a daily basis because of our current situation.
With the hook habit hobby scheme, we see an insidious method of monetizing compulsion. Like a cartoonish drug dealer from an 80s PSA video, the game introduces a good deal first with the aim of getting the customer habitually desirous of more. The concept of the icebreaker deal is downright sinister, and you'd think a casually dressed game dev explaining the concept like it's no big deal would lessen how ghoulish it sounds, but nope, oh my, nope.
The hook is where you put up an icebreaker. You want to give a really, really good deal, something that's a no-brainer. You would be crazy to turn it down as a player. The reason to give a really good deal up front is by making people spend up front, they are also emotionally committing to your game.
So I can ask anyone, I can just randomly bring anyone who plays, for example, PUBG Mobile, and ask him, give me a good deal. On the battle pass, for example, give me a good deal. He will list at least a dozen, at least. You know, you can only do this to get that skin. You can only do that to get that frying pan. You can only do this to get that gun's skin. That's the good deal he's talking about. And that makes you play the game. And by playing the game and investing into the game, both emotionally and in your time, you are more inclined to spend your money. Now you are looking for someone who you can give money to in order to buy the battle pass, because that's such a good deal that you needn't waste time not getting.
Their retention will go up. And
another prime example that many of my friends' friends know is the Dota. The Dota one. It's called the Compendium. And they all know too well about the Compendium, don't they? But they spend a good amount of money. They have their reasoning. They don't understand that, okay, we just are going to be doing this Compendium thing so we can get that set, so we can sell that set and gain money. Trust me, you're losing more than you are winning, even if you don't think you are doing so.
the first spend is, it breaks the ice, then they think of themselves as spenders in the game. It's okay for me to spend in the game. Lots of people are otherwise have this wall up. I will never pay for a mobile game. So you need to break the wall first.
We'll get back to more.
Yeah, they know by default that even people like me do not want to spend money by default for many reasons. They don't care about these reasons. They will just use the same methods on me, and they hope that I can become either a whale or a spender. If they know this, they don't really care. If you think that they don't know about your country, your situation, you will be surprised.
More from this person
They have data.
later on. Right now, let's look at a very different statement. A statement not from a whale hunter, but the brother of a so-called whale himself. A whale with a very genuine gambling problem whose love of video games helped him deal with that problem, only for said games to stab him in the back when money was to be made.
When my brother came of working age, he found work as a chef, and is still one. It's early morning to late at night hard work, so on the weekends he got into gambling. Casinos, betting slips, horses, everything except online gambling. It got so bad my family had to actively manage his money and help him to stop burning his entire paycheck on this shit, as it meant he never saved money to move out. This eventually worked after months, and he started spending his free days playing video games, FIFA and Call of Duty. We always played COD together growing up, and we all agreed this was far healthier. Stupid me never took any notice of loot boxes, so I didn't click that this might be a problem. After another few months, he was always asking for money for this and that. Eventually, my parents had enough and found out that he needed the money because he was spending the majority of his salary and savings on loot boxes in FIFA, literally thousands of pounds.
Oh yes, and I can bring in a friend of mine who does play FIFA, and he has a YouTube channel, and he does many things on his streams, and he can basically explain these things. You think you're just going to be spending a little? FIFA makes you spend millions in our own money. It's such a dangerous place to be. And it always only starts with just a small amount of money. Never too much. $1, $2, maybe $3. $3 is nothing, even for us. What's $3? You can do this. I mean, you can just save up a day or two. Even you don't even think about it until you are hooked.
My parents now control his accounts and give him a weekly allowance. He's a
Also, this is an extreme case. There are people like him, but this is some sort of an extreme case. I mean, it's a bit too much. I can't think of how. I don't know. I'm not an expert in the domain. It goes without saying. I'm not trying to be, I can't be condescending to this guy and, calling him some sort of an idiot, for example, or stupid, because I'm not in his shoes. But for me, it is incomprehensible that you would be spending the money that you earned from your own job, working 8 hours a day, to bet on some sort of a horse race, for example. Or let's not take horse races because these doesn't exist in our country. They do probably on somewhere under the dark. But cards, dominoes, these are popular, and I believe people do spend a lot of money on those things, and they are just as addicted as these people are.
grown man, for Christ's sake. He is not a rich person throwing money at a game to make it more affordable
Like
for
I
us.
said before,
He's
it's
a
not
working
the
class
rich
man
problem.
who used loot boxes as a direct substitute to old world gambling. I was back for the summer to work for him to make some quick money, went back to play COD with him, and what do you know, it's COD World War II, and I noticed the fucking loot boxes. A little part of me sank when I saw that. Hope he finds a better way to deal with it.
Yeah, well, the better way is...
These
an
are the
expert.
whales, so callously hunted by assholes with lanyards. It's very easy to suggest that these are people who should just be smart.
Oh, she's holding the Holy Grail, what doesn't exist in our country. And we're thinking, yeah, we can't spend, we can't put money on online stuff because we don't have that. Well, guess what? You would be surprised how many now are creating online shops, points for you to spend your own money to get the things that you would like to get, especially for the popular games currently in our country, which is PUBG, Free Fire, Fortnite perhaps, and Call of Duty, and a bit of FIFA. These are the Goliaths of gaming, even though there is stuff like World of Warcraft, for example, but it's not as prominent as it is for the other games. These are the games you can see them everywhere. Everyone is playing them, from the tiny little kids to the old ones with their canes.
With the money, that only a fool lets it get this bad. I refuse to believe that anyone that churlish about the situation has ever dealt with addictive behaviour in their own lives. I simply refuse to believe it, because addiction simply does not work that way. You can't just switch it off. It's not that easy to simply stop. You can even know all day long that what you're doing is wrong, and you can consider yourself stupid, and you can know that it's harmful, but that won't stop you. It doesn't just stop on a dime, and the game industry knows this. That's why they go after those who will form habits. As we've already noted, addiction doesn't tend to form in a bubble. It more often than not is a symptom of and a response to other mental health issues. And it's not
Again,
uncommon to
like I
find an
said.
addict with multiple chronic habits. In this next testimonial, we learn once again how easy it can be for the right victim to fall prey to the subtle machinations of video game gambling, as well as how those in recovery for addiction are playing a dangerous game when all they want to do is play an actual game.
I spent a good portion of my life constantly high and wasting all of my money on drugs. I met my partner, now fiance, in World of Warcraft,
Oh,
and with her
what do you
help,
know?
I finally managed
What
to
do
get
you know?
sober. One big part of going through rehab and trying to control my addictive behaviours, one of the things I learned was to try and find a healthy replacement for the substance. Obviously, being a chronically ill hermit and geek that I am, I turned my focus back to my childhood love of video games. This, ironically, was around the time of the beta of Overwatch, and me and my
Oh, here we go.
guildies loved it. It was so much fun. I loved the idea of
I just want to notice something. This trend of loot boxes and online microtransaction haven't started a long time ago. It started creeping up into the business, and then it boomed around 2014, 2015, 16, and guess what? Overwatch was in development then, so they took notice of this, and Overwatch was released directly with the loot box system. And they were even more clever with this. The loot boxes are free. You can just play, level up, you get a loot box. So this is the hook. You're playing, you get the loot box, and you just move on. But one loot box is not enough. You have other activities. They give you another loot box. So you can have 2, maybe 3. 3 loot boxes is not enough. You really are desperately looking for that legendary skin that you want to acquire. And guess what? You need to spend your money. And there you have it. It's like that problem you solve with your own head. I need money to get that skin before the event ends.
collecting cosmetics for my favourite characters, as I am a big collector and naturally fell into the trap of loot boxes. I kept getting sucked in with the spend more to get more trap that a lot of publishers use to get people spending.
And we all know this. The more you spend, the more you get. The more money you sink into that battle pass, the more loot you get. Oh, you want 2 skins for those weapons? There are legendary ones. You just need to spend more. Just do it, brother. Just do it. It's $10, but spend $20 and you're going to be fine. I mean, $20 is nothing. Come on. You can do this.
I lost
There you
track
have it.
of the amount of money I spent, but thanks to rehab, I could quickly identify that this was dangerous behaviour, and I quit playing the game. I spent the next few years jumping from game to game, leaving when the microtransactions got too much to bear. Rift was a nice distraction from WoW, and I had played it from beta, and then it went free to play with loot boxes as well as a cash.
Yeah, free-to-play basically is synonymous with microtransactions nowadays. They lure you in. It's a free game. Just download and play. It's easy. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, you're not spending money. It's a free game. Come in. And then you find yourself spending so much more than the traditional $60 that you used to spend on such games before.
Guild Wars 2, Cash Shop and loot
Yep.
boxes.
I used to
Deus
love
Ex,
Guild Wars 2.
Series I
Even
treasure,
single player, yeah.
microtransactions.
Deus Ex,
Assassin's
man.
Creed Origins, same thing.
Yeah.
The place where I once found distraction and salvation is now preying upon my addictive nature and impulse spending problems. It hurts. It really does. I have had to turn away from $100 Australian games because they've implemented microtransactions, and the idea of popping in a few bucks to make life easier is so tempting, and I keep falling for it. Again and again.
That's the thing. This is a guy who knows he has an addiction problem. This is a guy who went through rehabilitation. This is a guy who went to see an expert, and still, even though he's trying to dodge this as much as he can, it is so dangerous that it lures him back again and again and again. This is how dangerous it is.
My fiance has now taken away both my debit card and my PayPal details
Yeah,
to try
extreme
and curb
measures.
this. It's a weird mentality of it's only here for a limited time, and if I don't get it now, I may never get it again.
Oh man, this is the cherry on top of the pie of the loot boxes and the stuff. Give you another concept. The Battle Pass, for example, or whatever pass there is in PUBG Mobile, is it going to be there forever? No. It's only for a limited amount of time, and if you want to get that particular weapon skin or character skin, then you need to put in the time, and this is how elaborate it got. You can't just put money, you need to put money and time, because they need to exercise the hook and the result. They need you to be invested 100% into that game. So you do not think twice about spending your money. You just need to spend. Because if you don't do it, it will be disappearing forever. And your friend is going to have that character skin, and you don't. Even though at the end of the day, if you think about it, it matters not. If your friend have all the legendary skins and you have none, it really matters not. If this was a skill game, then it's your skill that determines how good you are. But since it's all about gambling and addiction, then it's all about the skins. And you can hear the people outside, your friends, children, anyone, even strangers that you don't know, talking about skins and only skins. That's because all of them have already fallen into this trap and they are already hooked into this.
And not complete my collection. Hitting that buy now button, seeing the rewards pop up, the spinning of the dice or slot wheels tick.
Oh yes, it's all well calculated. Nothing is left for, just chance, or everything is designed to appeal. Everything is a trap.
Past the rare loot, the just one more rationale, it completely overrules any common sense like you need this money to pay rent or your medical bills or food.
When game industry mouthpieces claim microtransactions and loot boxes are fine because nobody's forced to buy them, I think of those...
Oh, the two arguments that I hate the most in my life. Nobody is forcing you to do this, and you are not forced to play the game because the game is free to play. So you do not need to criticize it, you do not need to play it, it's free to play. Why are you trying to criticize our game? If you want to spend the money on it, then don't talk to us. It's our choice. It's ignorance, man. Ignorance. They don't know how predatory these things are.
To have had to move from video game to video game, actively pursued by the microtransactions that threatened to drag them back down the hole. The industry loves to claim it's optional to justify microtransactions, willfully ignoring how video games are designed to be grindier and less convenient to make their time-saving in-game purchases way more appealing. None of us have the option to avoid deliberately bad game design in the video games we buy.
Why would you want to get 1,000 headshots with that Car 98 on your mobile phone where you can just buy the next step in your battle pass? That would be much easier. That skin is gated behind that 1,000 headshots, and you can't get that 1,000 headshots. Some will do. Definitely some will do. The goal is always obtainable because they want you to be always engaged. It's not something accidental. They're not, okay, we're going to make it 1,000, but some people are going to get it. Yes, we want people to get it. We want you to see the people with those skins so that you're going to try. Because they know that skill varies in games. Some people are good, some people are bad. Some people can be better, some people will never advance due to the other arrangements, other attachments in life. So you try and then you try and then you try again, and it's the end of the battle pass, season pass, fire pass, whatever they are called in that world, and well, I'm just gonna be spending the money and getting that skin and be done with it. There you have it. Easy clap, easy money for them.
And those with shopping addiction and gambling addiction have no option to even play these games without the risk of slipping back into destructive behaviour. Now, I've shared my disgust with the video game industry here many times. Some understand my outrage, others not so much. It is my hope that with these testimonials juxtaposed against the sheer negligent insensitivity of men like Torolf Jernstrom will go some way to explaining why an addict like myself, who would more than likely be a victim of in-game gambling,
Quake champions, I mean seriously. They are everywhere, in games you like and in games you don't like. Quake Champions is one of my all-time favorite games. I like FPS, and yet it's plagued by this. Every time you log in, loot boxes, daily challenges, do this, do that, this is an exclusive, this is not. And you have to be so conscious about these things in order to fight them. Otherwise, you'll be buying the legendary box, the reliquary box, because when you open 2, 3 of these, and they will give you ones for free, trust me, I have already opened these, you will find out that these are pointless. You have thousands of these, they are pointless. You have hundreds of these, they are also not that good. But if you can only acquire 100 of these, 50 then you will be rewarded so much. They will give you the skins. You will forget that you are playing a game about skills. Quake have never been a game about skins. Quake have been a game about skills. 2 different words. Same pronunciation almost. 2 only different letters, but the meanings are worlds apart. So now, you can't even get 1 headshot with a railgun, and yet you have the entire weapons and skins in the game. Stupid if you think about it. And like I said, this is a game dear to my heart. So I am already being attacked by these kind of systems.
Were I not already so professionally against it, would be so utterly fucking furious at what the video game industry has encouraged in recent years. The industry not only knows what it's doing, it's celebrating it. It's doing it in public, at conferences and in calls, sharing the knowledge and the tactics that instill habitual spending among their audiences. There is a veritable treasure trove of evil fucking wisdom out there that doesn't attempt to hide how predatory this industry has become. None of this is a secret. None of this is obscure. This is out in the open.
Hot State. There's an excellent book about behavioral psychology called Thinking Fast and Slow. I'm telling you that the fast thinking mode is what you want. The slow thinking is your analytical brain. What's 12 times 47? I'm sure all of you can answer that, but you have to start your actual thinking brain to do that. Our brain works in these 2 modes, and starting the analytical part of your brain is too much to ask for a spend. Make stuff...
Okay, let me give you a situation, kind of to explain this a bit in layman terms, in a more easier way to understand, for those of you who don't get it. So, imagine you having an argument with a friend. The argument is done. You go back home. That's where your second part of your brain started analyzing the situation. And then you start coming out with this genius ways to come back to your said friend. But it's too late. It's absolutely too late.
Stuff immediately useful, immediate gratification. If you have a level-based game and you sell some boosters up front, for instance, a coin doubler or some other stuff that will help you, people will have to analyze and think it through. These things are good for me, these will help me progress, before they do it. If, on the other hand, you do, like, for instance, in this temple run, once your game is over, save me, I have a few seconds to spend hard currency and I get to continue. The IKEA effect. This is to say, stuff that we put work into, we value more highly. You know, IKEA really sells you cardboard stuff. It's shit. But you value it still somehow slightly higher because you actually built it yourselves. There's a trigger to remind us to do something. Then we go do an action. We get the variable reward, just like the gachas. We get the lottery ticket. And then, to really hook it down, we need to ask people to do something for us, do a little bit of work, because then they become emotionally attached to that. Anchoring is fun. Anchoring means that when we don't know the price of stuff, the first price we hear suggested for it becomes our anchor, and then we compare everything to that. Some games...
Well, this is something well used in our country, the anchor one. I mean, the IKEA one was still too early to do such things, but our brains are not well developed, you know, the robbers in our country. I mean, the ones in charge. The ones that sell us a ton of things. They haven't reached that mentality yet. They probably did, they're just saving it for later because we're advancing. Bit by bit, we're advancing. The anchor one, oh, we know it. You go to the market, you find the piece of shoes that you like, the guy gives you a price. That price is not the actual price. He's probably almost doubling it, for example. But for you, that becomes, just like what he said, your anchor. So if he goes up, you go down. And if you go down, he tries to go up again. But at the end of the day, he will still benefit a ton from it. And you're going to be buying it with the satisfaction that you kind of negotiated the price and you got a really good price. But you don't really know that you got technically not scammed, but technically he still won the bargain. Because no one will ever sell you something with a loss. Everyone will sell you something with gains. For us, it's a bit of a simpler method. They start swearing, I bought this with that price, it is fresh, it is clean. We heard these words, we hear them all the time on Facebook, in the markets, outside. It's always the same. It's fresh, it's clean, it's good, it's original, and I bought it yesterday for this price, and for you, I'm going to sell it for that price. And I'm really doing you a favor. The anchor effect.
Immediately when you're in the tutorial, they suggest to you you should buy this good IAP for 50 euros or something like that. I go like, oh, that's expensive, I'll never do that. Of course, no. And I expect them to say no. Then again, I come back like a few sessions later and suggest they buy it for 15. And I'll say, that's a good value, because my anchor was at 50.
Get people to knee-jerk spend, to not think about what they're doing as they're doing it. Keep the pressure up with limited offers, fixed prices to make each spend more appealing. Get players a sense of emotional as well as financial investment. Maintain the sunk cost fallacy as long as possible. Everything I've ever ranted and raved about on the Gymquisition is not only supported, but gloated over by people in the industry, right down to the bullshit excuses I've had to demolish before, such as spreading the nonsense that microtransactions are required in order to support developers. In fact,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We kind of need the microtransaction in order to survive. We're a small company. We can't survive without your MTXs. Our game is free. We're poor. Then you do some research and Tencent actually owns that company. And you're like, small? Where?
Ernstrom notes that you don't even have to be all that convincing in your lies.
If we tell people they are a certain way, if we compliment them on being nice, good citizens, they are more likely to behave as nice, good citizens. So you should actually tell your players that they are generous individuals who have a taste for good art and want to support their game developers by paying you and buying IAPs. Related to that, also, telling people the reason to do something makes them much more likely to actually follow through and do that. Spend because reasons. The reasons don't even have to be that good in order for this to work.
The total bollocks.
Skin equals skill. We heard this, didn't we? Well, should we do research? Who came up with this phrase? Or do I leave this for you guys to realize this?
Spouted on behalf of the game industry justifying aggressive microtransactions and gambling mechanics is not only perpetuated by people within the industry, but people without it as well. And it's always dismaying to me to see games media, games journalism, structures that should hold the industry to account going to bat for them. Most recently, and most disgustingly, there was an article on Polygon called Anti-Loot Box Bill Poses a Real Threat to Sports Video Games, with the tagline, how else are these billion-dollar licenses paid? Fuck you. These modes, if they don't directly pay for the games we enjoy, at least justify the workforces and development costs that make them worth playing. That oily microtransaction money, hard as it is to defend even in the abstract, helps those women and men deliver something that meets the unrelenting it's in the game standard we've taken for granted for a couple of decades. No, they don't. They were being delivered before microtransactions happened. You fool. And as we've already explained, the whole microtransactions support the developers line is bullshit. It's bullshit. The root.
And they played it so well that they don't need to defend this. It's the players that defend this. It's the players that get emotionally disturbed when you tell them you hate that game. The second I said I hate PUBG Mobile, you would not realize how many people got triggered. They are invested emotionally in that game. And the fact that you tell them that that game is bad, or mobile gaming is bad in general, it's a trigger. It's like you insulted them. It's that because they are already been hooked to these things a long time ago. But if you had your head square on your shoulders, if someone comes and tells you your game is rubbish, well, so what? If it is for you, it is. It's fine. We can discuss why. We can come to a logical conclusion that you may not like the game and I should probably, agree with you. But if I like the game, I like the game, and that's all there is to it. But since I am emotionally attached to that game, I will attack you. I will ignore you, unfriend you, I will insult you, remove you from my Facebook group. You know what I mean. I've been through that, just for saying PUBG Mobile is rubbish.
Layoffs this industry has, often to celebrate things like record revenue intake, wholly demonstrates that. People are losing their jobs all the time, regardless of how much money is flowing into the industry. The article essentially boils down to, won't somebody please think of the corporations? And relies on the age-old myth that video games are just too expensive for multi-billion-dollar companies to make them anymore. In doing so, the article...
Really? Video games have been made since the early 90s. Not even before that, vastly before that. And the only reason that weren't video games as elaborate as they are now is because the hardware didn't allow it.
The article does hit upon a very real problem, but the understanding of the problem presented is completely fucked. Nobody publicises exactly how much their cash cows bring in, of course, but it's instructive that Take-Two agreed to a deal paying the NBA $1.1 billion over the next 7 years. That's double the value of the last deal, which was inked in 2011, well before virtual currency was introduced to my career. I don't think Visual Concepts replaces that dough by reselling NBA's greatest DLC or the Sprite Slam Dunk Contest. Polygon's writer suggests that sports games would suffer under recent pushes to regulate loot boxes because the licenses for the sports in question are now costing billions, and it's frustrating because the writer is so close to the truth there, so close to the issue, but decides the best solution is to put gambling mechanics in these fucking video games rather than ask why a sports association is charging so much bloody money for the rights to make a game that said association directly benefits from.
Like I said, I repeat this. I know people personally who are addicted to FIFA. They're so inclined because FIFA is football. Football is worshipped in my country. Therefore, FIFA is absolutely fine to spend tons of Algerian dinars that you so hard-earned, and you're not even getting paid as much as you should. And you spend half of it on FIFA. Oh, I'm fine, I'm not married, I don't have kids, so I can spend that amount. You're wrong. You're wasting your life.
Let's not forget these licenses were perfectly affordable before loot boxes came along. It's only post-loot box that suddenly...
Yeah, how many FIFA you guys played, for example, that didn't have loot boxes, and they perfectly had all the teams, all the players, all the professionals, everything was just absolutely fine. So, yeah. Maintenance? No.
They're far too expensive. I mean, imagine a hypothetical world where Electronic Arts suddenly couldn't afford the rights to make a FIFA game. As if FIFA would allow a year go by without a FIFA game existing. Get fucking real. If for some reason one of these publishers couldn't afford to make a FIFA game, and let's be honest, they'd find the money somehow, likely the price for the licenses would go down. All this fucking Polygon article does is argue in favour of the perpetuation of a problem in order to perpetuate another problem, suggesting gambling mechanics should stay in video games so that sports associations can keep charging through the arsehole for their licenses. Fuck right off. This weak article completely hand waves away any real issues, any real concerns people have with gambling mechanics as coming from people who just hate EA or were just angry about Star Wars Battlefront 2. Piss off. I knew this video I was working on was coming
You just don't like our game because you're not good at it. So, because you're not good at our game, you criticize it.
When that
You suck. That kind of mentality.
article went out and I had to bite my tongue at the time because I was saving it for now. Having had already spoken to gambling addicts, shopping addicts about this topic, to see concerns so sneeringly batted away in favour of complete corporate propaganda thoroughly disgusted me and continues to disgust me. Games Press should be holding these companies to account, but they can't even comprehend why loot boxes and microtransactions overall are so fucking poisonous. Because they don't think about the prey. They don't think about the people these companies are preying on. They only see them as whales, dehumanized whales.
And on this particular light, this is the dangerous part of things. Thus, these small games that are so popular in this country, because the government have no clue about technology, the government is filled with dinosaurs who aren't living in our era, they are not living in 2020, they have no idea how these things work. No idea whatsoever. So, they will wait until this boils more and more and more, until the drop that will fill the cup happens. And then what they do? Ban everything. Ban the entirety of gaming. Entire servers, entire games. Ban DNSs. They don't want you to play video games. And they will just take this situation, because they will probably have the support of parents, for example, who are even more ignorant, and they will ban everything. You think a game like PUBG Mobile do not concern me because I do not play it? Well, guess what? It does. Articles like someone stabbed someone because of PUBG Mobile have already started resurging, and not long now until discussions start happening, until something in the news becomes a huge thing. And again, guess what's going to happen? It's your game that's going to be affected. It's my game that's going to be affected. They don't care. They will ban them. It's good for business. It's good for our country. They don't care. Ban everything. Be done with it. Live your life. Everyone is a loser. They are the winner. Always.
And that misunderstanding has to stop. They're not rich kids with enough money to spare. They're not goddamn sea mammals. They're people with vulnerabilities that this game industry is exploiting, knowingly,
They don't care.
gladly,
They don't
greedily.
care.
And I am overhearing any defense for them because they are unbloody tenable. The regulation of loot boxes might not be pleasant, and it's not something I explicitly gunned for, but I did warn the game industry that it was coming, that if they kept pushing these microtransactions, if they kept pushing the limits to see exactly how much they could get away with, they would end up with a fight on their hands once politicians got interested. I said this time and time again, and no one bloody listened, and now look where we are.
By the way, even that Snake game have microtransactions now. That game we've been playing since the early 90s. And all of a sudden, you need to support the company because, they need you to support them because they don't have enough funds to Snake that you play on your mobile. Ludicrous stuff.
And it's on the industry's head. It's on their head, nobody else's. It's their problem. They do not deserve people taking up arms and defending them.
I like this metaphor of just buckets. That bucket is glowing, therefore that bucket is better than that bucket. But in reality, if you realize, they both have the same quantity, you can fill them both with water and they will do exactly the same job. The rusted one or the golden one, it doesn't really matter. But it's eye candy.
Because they merrily walked into this situation. And ultimately, if you need gambling mechanics to keep your fucking games going, you shouldn't be in business. The world can do without your exploitative crap. Not that you really need them, you didn't need them before, you'd find a way to work around it if they were to go away. It's always about greed, it's not about need. And if you trip over yourself to apologize for what these corporations do, you are little more to them than a useful idiot.
To have any chance
Yeah.
of turning players into payers, game developers need to get their in-app purchases right.
Offers and scarcity plays
here we
into the
go.
loss aversion. If there are rare cards up here, and you see the goblin going with his clocks, tick-tock. I'll take it away from you, I'll take it away from you. They are scarce, they go away. This is a brilliant way to get more.
Monetize, retain,
Carrot on the
acquire.
stick.
This is the mantra of the modern video game industry. It's been the creed of the shit-sucking mobile sector for years and years, and in recent times, from the tail end of the last generation to now, it's increasingly become the creed of the so-called AAA game publisher. Monetize, retain, acquire, form those habits, trick those customers, turn those players into payers. As one disgusting organisation once suggested, much of what they are doing is unethical, much of it is certainly immoral, so much so that little talk givers need to check their morals at the door to even discuss the tactics at play. And the industry gets away with it because such addiction is so often misunderstood. Another testimonial I received, one of many more than discussed in this video, described how they got hooked on a MOBA that used social pressure to keep people spending, and how nobody would help them when they sought support to stop.
Social pressure, man. Social pressure happened even in my circle. I have this skin. I dropped that skin. You don't have that skin. I'm better than you. Pressure. You need to, I don't know, play the game more, get more skins, get more loot boxes in League of Legends, get more keys, get that skin. Or get a rarer equivalent skin so you don't look like a fool. Where's the skill? None. It's not there. There have been many conversations revolving around loot boxes and skins and how one have one skin over the other. That amazing legendary, that amazing ultimate skin, they have, and we don't. That's social pressure. One form of social pressure. There are multiple.
Uni's response, it's not gambling, it's not an addiction, they said. They offered me zero support because the counsellors simply couldn't get their heads around that I was addicted to wasting money just for friends on a video game. There was nothing. No support.
Because they think video games are pitiful. They're kids' stuff. Nothing, you know. They're boomers. They are really old ones that still don't understand newer technology. And since they can't wrap their heads around that technology, they can't connect the dots together. It's pitiful for them. It's, you know, stupid that you just mentioned these things. They will refuse to do a research just because they think it's stupid.
Just another round of adults who drowned my voice out, and I was berated for not having a real problem and just being a spoiled child. Peer pressure is just another way the industry makes money off the back of vulnerable people. Recently, news broke that kids are being bullied for only having default skins in Fortnite. While the game is free...
Oh, you have default skins? You're such a fool. We're better than you because we have these other skins, man. I mean, I remember someone who's saying that Fortnite is basically a skin store, a loot box store, and the gameplay is just a front to sell more of that store. And I agree, to be honest.
Children are pressured to keep up with their friends to maintain a social status by not being the poor scrub with the bargain basement cosmetics. Youngsters are reportedly begging their parents for Fortnite money because nobody will play with them otherwise.
You will not be winning Battle Royale with this skin or this skin. You can't use this dance emote if you don't win. These are pointless, useless stuff.
And the word default itself has become a derogatory term in schools. And if you think that's just kids being kids, that the game industry cannot possibly be held to account for this, well, guess what else Mr. Jernström said?
We are herd animals, we tend to do what all of the others do. You all sit quiet listening to me because that's what all of the other guys do here. So, especially when people are similar to us. This means that you should have the socially accepted way of behaving in your game should be paying. You want to tell people, for instance, when a clan member of theirs spend IAP money, you want the whole clan to know, because then that becomes the socially acceptable way of behaving. You by absolutely do not want to tell them that the majority of people in your game never spend money. That's poison. Never tell them that.
Am I demonstrating this fucking clearly enough now? Am I effectively showcasing?
I mean, there have been talk about ways, internal talks that got leaked into gaming companies that wanted players that don't have skins to be tagged with players that have skins, so that they are constantly exposed to people with skins that have things that they don't have, so that you see these things and you think, man, I want to have that. I want to acquire it. I want to buy it. You see it in multiple games, even in the games that I like and I play. I see it on every day in Path of Exile, for example. I play a ton of hours. I spent a ton of hours in Path of Exile. You see it every day. Look at that guy with that skin. It's absolutely pointless to have a town with shared players that are sitting there. It's pointless in an action RPG game. You can be playing it together with your friends or just alone. You can see your friends or just see yourself, and that's absolutely fine. But they will do an extra work so that you can see other players in order to just have them with their skins into your face. And you start thinking, man, that set is such an amazing one. Look at the fire effects on him. I want to have it. Doesn't really imply anything in the game. I mean, in Path of Exile's exception, more of these skins actually have a bad impact performance on your computer. So if you have more skins, the game is going to perform at a more mediocre rate. So yeah, it's not always that good.
Casing that this industry has nasty parasitic bastards in it that know exactly what they're doing and not only don't care but are proud of themselves. And it's not just Jernstrom. You'll find men like him absolutely everywhere if you know which stones to turn over. David Zentel is a researcher and lecturer who has devoted much of his time to the study of loot boxes. In a paper published in June of 2019, he noted that while he cannot claim loot boxes create problem gamblers, there's evidence to suggest problem gamblers are certainly exploited by them. According to his findings, when loot boxes were removed from Heroes of the Storm, problem gamblers, and only problem gamblers, spent less money on the game. The spending habits of other players didn't change. The spending habits of the gamblers did because the gambling was gone. There are many studies showing a correlation between gambling addiction and loot boxes, but correlation is not causation, I will say that. However, the near-identical psychological similarities between loot boxes and gambling, coupled with reports like those from Zendel, support the idea that those with addiction struggles are routinely preyed upon by an industry that, regardless of whether they create compulsive gamblers, sure as shit profit from them. And does
I mean, here's the thing. It's like, there are certain games that when you think about it, you think it's similar, but sometimes it's worse for video games. You earn absolutely nothing from gambling in video games. You can go to a slot machine and spend a ton of money and sometimes get some of that money back. Sometimes. At least you're doing something on a physical scale, and sometimes you get some of that money back. What do you get in Raid Shadow Legends, for example? Nothing. You spend a ton of money, you open a lot of gems, I think. It's not even loot boxes, because they know that the term loot boxes have become notorious, so they switch things. And then what do you get? Nothing. Nothing really. Oh, you got the legendary skin. So what? Does that have an impact on the game? Oh no, because that would be bad. Then why are you spending the money on those things? There you have it. It's circle.
Electronic Arts' illegal VP sits before a parliamentary committee trying to rebrand loot boxes as surprise mechanics.
Surprise mechanics, yeah. She described them as Kinder, the egg from Kinder stuff. It was outrageous.
And claiming they're ethical because people enjoy them. I need to stress just how dirty the game industry's money is. And it's not just dirty, it's filthy, fucking money. The billions upon billions being funneled into the offshore tax havens of these video game companies stink of abuse. Shameless, profiteering abuse. If it's not outright evil, it is amoral in the extreme, and they flaunt their immorality in public with the smug, satisfied self-confidence of monsters who've gotten away with it. Just go back and watch, again, the sneering manner in which EA's Kerry Hopkins patronises her way through an explanation of what loot boxes are. Just go and read the articles from dozens of industry mouthpieces who disregard criticisms of microtransactions because if people didn't want them, they wouldn't spend money on them. That argument, in the face of the compulsive strings microtransactions pull, is as weak.
Going back to the, if you don't like our game, don't play our game. And I'm not talking about the devs, I'm talking about the other players.
As it is despicably dishonest. There was a comment on Reddit once that said, Jim Sterling is not pro-consumer, he's anti-AAA. And I'll take that. That sounds fine by me. I do hate what the mainstream industry has done to the medium. How the unchecked, unimpeded greed that fuels corporate decision-making has turned games into grindy, unsatisfying money vacuums, all in the name of psychological ambush. I say this not with affected internet outrage, but with a genuine, understated, ice-cold fury. I genuinely hate most video game publishers, their executives, and every seedy, slimy, corrupt thing they've done to both the industry at large and, more importantly, their many victims. You damn right, I'm anti-AAA. Hopefully this video has gone some way toward explaining the level of anger I have when it comes to talking about mainstream AAA video games. It should explain why, whenever I say AAA, I struggle not to do it in a sneering, condescending, mocking voice, because, I mean, I've always found that the designation AAA is arrogant on the part of the game industry. It's a sign of arrogance, just showcasing that they think they're so far above everything else, when nothing they do actually qualifies them for a designation of 3 A's. A is supposed to be good in grading, and the AAA video game industry is not AAA, it is triple shit. That showed them they're triple shit. Anyway, I hope that this video indicates to you that I don't do this for, as some people...
I mean, yeah, so this is one of just many, many examples. It's a long subject that I can talk about forever. This basically gives you a tiny hint of why I say I hate PUBG Mobile. The reality is that I don't hate the game. I don't hate the gameplay. I hate the fact that the entirety of the game have been spinned in a way so you can spend money, buy skins, and be more inclined to just give them money. That's all it's turned. The game is in easier form. It's filled with bots. It will gives you a full sense of accomplishment compared to PUBG when it came out on PC. It had only players. There were no bots. They soon realized that's not good. It made the game harder. And a hard game is frustrating. And frustrating stuff leads players away. And all they want is your wallet, all they want is your money. So put it on mobile, give it a ton of microtransactions, and let the people play it and have fun. They are making so much money off of PUBG Mobile that they don't care anymore about the Steam version. They have it updated, there's probably some small team for it, but everything is for PUBG Mobile. And every 2 seconds, I go and research the game. Tons and tons and tons of skins have resurfaced. Always people talking about new stuff and new skins. So yeah, this is why. I do remember, I definitely do remember the day that League of Legends introduced loot boxes. Everything was fine. They were selling skins, they were selling, many things. It was working as intended. It was a successful game. All of a sudden, loot boxes. And you don't have to... No. You do not have to do them. We can give you free loot boxes. You just need to collect fragments. Again, all falls into the system explained in the video by the guy, by the head villain, so to say. 3 fragments, combine them, makes your key. A key opens a box. Your boxes are limited by champions. Every champion you get an S ranking on, you need to perform exceptionally well in a match of 30, 40, 50 minutes, in order to acquire that box, in order to open it. That gives you basically rubbish. It's frustrating, but spending money is not, so spend the money. They hook you, investment, and then cash in. That's the deal. Okay, let's do this, and let's bring in our dear friend, who may or may not be here. Tarek, you here, brother? Come to Discord, let's have a chat. More about this if you can. Oh, friend is playing Divinity. Nice. I mean, if you are here, just call me. Oh yeah. Even in World of Warcraft, everything is plagued by this. Everything is plagued by this. I mean, let me just see if there is a shop. Of course there is a shop. Of course. Spend 70... Well... 70... Oh, it's 65. Damn. So sad. That's so nice. $65 or euros, and you get a skin. So appealing. So stupid. Alright, so... Let me do... I think first I want to go to I want to go to Ardenweald. I want to collect my daily missions. My 2 daily missions. And then we will do some... we'll probably do some grinding. I want to do a dungeon... a dungeon or 2. I'm still lacking in gear. And of course, I want that gear. Alright, so... Oh, it's because I was... Okay, here we go. We're calling you. Push to talk, needs permission. I... think I did have permission, what the heck? Can you hear me?
Step closer and don't mumble. Have anything ancient to trade? Needs to be at least 2 centuries old.
Yeah, these guys who have these skins are...
Hello?
Are nice. تربح طارق. لك تسمع فيا? Can you hear me?
أنا اسمع فيك.
Discord gives me... The message is like that, we need your permission. But I have it on admin mode, so it's weird. Okay, what do you want to say? You've seen the video.
Discord isn't the most logical application, I think, out there.
Uh-huh. What do you think? What do you think about the entire situation? Oh, it seems like it's not working.
I can't hear you.
It's not working. Give me a second. I don't know. There was an update, so that probably messed with my privileges. Let's do this again. Again. Here we go. Okay, now it should work.
Okay.
So the subject is, of course, loot boxes, gambling, mobile games, PUBG Mobile, Free Fire, all those things, in our country specifically. So I want to keep this conversation about our country. So we need to think, not globally, because globally it's easy. We need to think about our country and continue in that direction. Because many people think that they're not subject to these predatory things, and the reality is no. It's on the contrary. We are more inclined to do these things than others.
Well, I think, I mean, if you look at it this way, it's a tragedy on on every level. If you look into, like, locally here in this country, probably it's going to be even worse, because looking at how people are actually living, because for someone who lives in, let's say, in the United States, or let's say Europe, spending even up to 200 euros or dollars a month on a video game still can be considered logical. But in a country where most people have the salary that averages to somewhere between $100 and $150, spending $50 a month is actually a tragedy, financial tragedy, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and you think, okay, because we don't have enough money, we're not spending. You just need to talk with the right set of people to tell you that, yes, actually they are spending that much. That much is being spent. I mean, I personally know people who just casually talk about the Amazon gift cards and the Google gift cards just so that they can redeem them, just so that they can spend on the PUBG and the whole craze thing. Oh, that's Reverend Wrath.
Of course, I mean...
Keep on.
I mean, yeah, I mean, of course, if it's not country specific, because it's the same thing as addiction. I mean, if you pick someone who is, I don't know, let's say he is addicted to heroin, he's going to try to spend money. If he's in the United States or in Algeria, he's going to do whatever he can to provide the money to spend on his expensive habit. Because at the end of the day, addiction is a habit. And it doesn't matter if you're poor or rich. I mean, when you are poor, it makes it harder. Sometimes you find yourself limited by your financial means. I mean, if you had like $10,000 a month, you'd be maybe spending like $5,000 a month. If you have like, I don't know, $500, you end up spending $250. So sometimes poverty can limit your losses, but still they are losses nonetheless.
Yeah, but I noticed that, speaking of this, because PUBG Mobile, for example, is so predatory that they understand that they have a vast audience from the Middle Eastern and, our country's kind of situation. And they understand this, so they have the game in Arabic, they have the loot boxes and everything translated specifically to cater to us. They know that we are not going to be able to spend as much money as Europeans, Americans, and others. And Asians, especially Asians, because they spend the most in mobile gaming. And for that, they have everything specially prepared. They facilitate the spending of money. And they know that people are going to spend that money. They will just grab anything they can, because, to be honest, we talked about this many times before. No one cares about Africa when they're doing their fiscal years, when it comes to gaming and Middle East and everything. No one cares about us. Every single win or loss in a video game does not factor us, because they know we can't spend that much. We have no access, we have no money altogether. So the more they can grab from us, the more good for them.
Yeah, of course. Well, definitely that's the case. I mean, any company, when it's actually trying to design its product, is going to be taking in consideration like the audience and which areas or regions are going to be focusing on them more than others. Because if you can see that you are receiving like 70% of your income and profit coming from a specific region, you're going to be actually doing more effort to make that region pay even more, because they're obviously willing to pay, so why not make them pay even more? Though I can say for 100% sure that these companies, when they start working on these projects, I can say, okay, I'm not going to say 100% sure, but I'm sure they do some sort of financial or economical consultant by trying to get some people who actually know which region they should focus on, in the same way that I believe they actually do some consulting with some sort of psychologist. Because these video games, I mean, they talked about it in the video that you watched
I
earlier.
mean, you saw the guy. I seriously need to watch that video later on because everything was just laid down. It was in layman terms, it was right there. Everything you see in a video game from the loot box perspective to the entire thing, he just laid it. It was simple, it was right there. And it works on everyone. Just on one or two people, it works on everyone.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. I mean, I believe that they actually do hire or work with some psychologists, because they are talking about things that actually based on psychology. And if you understand psychology, I mean, humans are different, but they still share this common ground and this like basic model that we all function with. So if you want to, I don't know, to push the buttons of as much people as possible, you're going to be needing to understand these psychological factors, and probably you should talk to a psychologist because they are the expert in the field. And when you talk about it, I mean, in the video, what he was actually trying to do, he was trying to shame companies into stopping this behavior. But you cannot actually do that, and I don't really blame the companies, because
it's too big. It's too big already. It's not going to be easy to be pushed back.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And just trying to do that is actually some sort of a naive approach, because as far as financial models we have, capitalism is the most efficient one. Capitalism is based on taking money. Capitalism is actually, you if there is an opportunity for you to make money, you should take it. So when you look at it from this perspective, you first of all, you have to give up the notion of good and evil, the wrong and the right thing, because companies like, let's say, Activision is not one person, it's a company which is referred, I think they refer to it as a moral entity. It's called it's hard to translate from French to English.
Yep, it is.
Well, I think it's called moral entity, in the sense that it's not one person, it's a company, and the company, there's no good or evil.
Yeah, it's many people inside, and many mentalities and ways to think. Just basically they're telling you that don't try to put it on a black or white perspective. It's not going to work.
What is your quarry?
Nope.
So...
you're here. Okay.
Just a second.
Take your time. Take your time. Borrowing might, concentrated, whatever. Don't care. What's this? Oh, I should go to this one then.
My heart for Arden.
Garden of the Night cleared. Alright, we'll clear the garden. There's so much things to do, and I've definitely already fallen way behind when it comes to World of Warcraft. So, yep. Not much I can do there. Oh, sorry. There we go. Alright, so... No. I don't need to fly again. Oh, I have this mount. Definitely do.
Back.
Welcome back.
So, as I was saying, is actually that there's no such thing as good or bad in this. When we start talking about this topic, and as I said, capitalism is the only financial structure or system that we have that is actually working. But the biggest negative aspect of it is that capitalism can easily turn into what is called savage capitalism. And when it comes to controlling that, this is the job of the thing that is bigger than these corporations, which is the government, which means the government is the ones who are supposed to be protecting, as you mentioned, like these vulnerable people. The one who should be thinking about these people is actually government and the establishment, but it seems like the establishment doesn't really care. The establishment,
No, they don't.
As any corporation, I mean, probably there must be some sort of lobbying. I mean, if you are making billions of years, you can spend a couple of $millions financing, let's say, the campaign of Joe Biden, and when Joe Biden becomes the president, he's going to make sure that he's not going to be messing with your loot, gambling business. So, when we start talking about if we were in a perfect world, probably this is something that the government should do. I think Belgium did something about it where it actually ruled out that is considered as gambling, and they took some action in case of that. But I think most countries don't really care about it, especially the countries that actually does spend the most on these things. They actually don't really care about it, and there is way too many reasons.
That's the problem, is that the country here is going to just do easy stuff. If this is going to become a problem in our country, they're going to ban all games. Simple as that. They don't care. They just actually want these games gone. So when something bad happens, and there is something like bad that is going to happen, it's without that. There's going to be someone stabbing someone because of PUBG. I think it already happens. And they will just take that as the, not scapegoat, as the reason why they're doing what they are going to be doing, which is basically kill all games. We don't care, we don't know about these things. It's a game, that's a game, so just ban everything. I mean, the gamer, the thing is, reality of things is that the gamer is a threat to this country. They don't like us. We're a problem. We ask for things that are not good for them. Yeah, they are living in 1800s, we are living in 2020. We keep asking for things that is not good for them. PayPal, for example, or online payments. That's not good for them. You know this. It's a business that they cannot control as they want. And we keep pestering them. And that is something that they don't want. So like you said, they do not care about the gambling thing in video games. What they care about is their wallet. And if you touch their wallet, well then they will ban everything and leave you be. But of course, most of the people you talk to, and you tell them you shouldn't play these games, they are bad for you and everything, they will just get emotionally threatened and they start attacking you. That's what happened to me, basically.
I think that's, well, you talked about two things. The first thing is how the government would react to something like this. And I'm not sure the government would ever react, because the government, at least here in Algeria, the government doesn't really give a shit as long as you don't get them or try to voice something that goes against them. They don't really care much. I know that they...
I mean, look at Patreon, by the way. They didn't care until someone used Patreon and they banned the Patreon now. Just because one guy was getting paid by Patreon, they banned the entire thing from the country and just move on with their life. And that sucks. That's what's going to happen to games.
That's the same. Well, when it comes to that, I think in this case, cares about taking its cut. It's the same thing that happened with Bitcoin when Bitcoin started, like, well, not when it started, when it went booming back in 2017. A lot of people were actually trying to purchase Bitcoin because for a poor country, that's a really good investment if you want to make some sort of a small or medium fortune. And I believe that the banks are involved, because if people start trying to use these cryptocurrencies and they start paying each other with cryptocurrencies, the banks are going to be going, well, not go broke, but they're going to be losing some business. And banks doesn't want that. And this is, I think, everybody, even babies knows that banks hold power. In every country they go to, they hold power because they are the institutions that actually put in the money. So the next year, they just banned everything. Any form of cryptocurrency is banned, and they banned owning it, and they banned buying it or selling it, just like every aspect of it. So when it comes to that, if you start to do something like that, they're gonna definitely take some I don't know, maybe drastic measures, if you can consider that as drastic.
That's the thing, is that they're not going to be taking some sort of they're not going to be creating a law. You know, here's the laws, here's what you need. They're not going to be understanding loot boxes, the video games and everything. No. They just ban everything, move on with their lives, and the biggest loser is always the people.
Yeah, because they don't care. They're going to hire an expert, which is an expert who actually probably doesn't know a damn about it, and is going to try to make something that sounds fancy. But when you're talking about this sort of thing, the biggest danger is, well, the biggest effect of it's not going to be with the government, but it's going to be with society. Because at least in a country like this, gaming already has this image of like some sort of the seventh deadly sin, which is like you're going to be like sitting down, wasting your time and wasting your life. And then this society that has already this prejudgmental idea and this prejudgmental concept about what games are, they're going to be having one more reason, which is like, oh, so you are sitting down, wasting your time, wasting your life, and now you are wasting your money. Especially when it comes to the addictive point where people are going to be spending hundreds of dollars a month on a game, let's say like FIFA or like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, you'd be surprised how much they're spending on FIFA. I mean, I talk about PUBG Mobile, but seriously, FIFA is a huge issue here.
Exactly, because, well, as I said, society is gonna make it worse for gamers. I mean, it's gonna just make every gamer some sort of an addict that is willing to waste his money, and it's gonna just make a bad image even worse. And when you mentioned FIFA, the thing that I think, if we have to talk about gambling and FIFA, I think the biggest problem is the gaming, I don't know how to call it, gaming stores. Well, it's not...
It's a shop.
Well, no, it's I'm not sure you can call it an arcade, because the arcade, you need arcades there to be able to call it the arcades. But I think you have seen it yourself. I mean, every like middle school or high school next to it, you find like the PlayStation 4 store. Like they put in like a couple of PlayStation 4 consoles and you play for money.
Yep.
And the fact that they put them like in these, like even like next to like primary schools, like, so from the beginning of, I mean, from their childhood to the teenage years, they decide to position these things next to the schools, because the schools is where kids are going to hang out. Kids who have like empty like spots in their schedule are going to be hanging out there. So why not open like, I don't know, some sort of gaming arcade thing or console gaming thing there, and let's take their money. So in terms of the government, if the government wants to do anything about it, they should probably take actions against these people. But as we mentioned earlier, I mean, I don't think the government is going to do anything, or is not going to take any actions against these people, because they don't really care about the mental health nor the financial situation of people that much.
It's going to be just like in, like, let's just say in the United States, someone's going to go berserk, he's going to kill one or two of his friends, it's going to make the news, one of the shitty news channels, and they're going to talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, and they're going to be more ignorant than ever, because I was, even on the radio, the local radio here in the town, they were talking about video games and make them like the devil itself, like you said, and I was actually lucky able to be calling them. I was so furious. My father was still alive at the time, and he didn't believe that it was me speaking on the phone. And the guy was telling, okay, so video games are bad. Video games are the devil. And everything related to them is just gonna destroy your children. So he wasn't addressing people who play video games, he was addressing the parents, the people who have no idea about the video games. And I talked about them, and I told him that what you're saying is wrong, and you can't prove this. And he was like, no, I do have proof. Where is it? And I said, I have proof, you don't. They hang up on me. It just hang up on me. They couldn't afford the conversation because the guy was just basically lying. And that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to just have a bunch of ignorant fools who have never seen a computer in their lives, let alone a video game, just coming. You know, this guy is a psychological guy, that guy is a teacher, that guy is probably someone affiliated with religion because they need money arguments. And then, of course, the government is going to take action because the people want the government to take action. And what they're going to be doing is, of course, just ban them. That's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, there's already been talk about banning PUBG Mobile. I don't know if you heard of it or not, but they already talked about this. And what I'm afraid of is that it's not just PUBG. They start with PUBG and Free Fire. They will just move on to the other games. Because why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's a probable scenario to happen, but...
And that's one of the many
Hopefully it
reasons
won't.
why people should wake up. Stop being emotionally attached to your video games. Like the video explained, you are emotionally attached to your video game. Stop thinking like that and think rationally. When I tell you that game is bad, it is bad for a reason. We're not just talking about I don't like it or, you know, it's just a taste matter. It's not, it's beyond the taste. It's something that is predatory. It's something that is bad for everyone. Not me, not you, everyone. And it's gonna be spilling doom on all of us. Your greed is gonna make us lose foot ground. But hey, and this is basically me being selfish here. I'm trying to be selfish here because we can't even have the proper discussion, which is, like the video said, or most people are talking about, the gambling aspect, which is the bad thing. We have to be greedy in our country. I don't want my games to be banned so that the people can believe you, because they do not believe that you are just for the greater good, for example, which is gambling is bad. We shouldn't be gambling. Kids should not be subjugated to such things. You can play the game. You can play the game. Like I said, I talked about Quake. I've talked about Overwatch. I talked about Path of Exile. These are the games that I play on a daily basis, and these are the games that have predatory things. You can play them, but you need to have enough awareness to be understanding that these things are bad. We're not like European countries where you can just easily, you know what, let's have a discussion, bring the woman that we saw at the beginning of the video telling us it's a surprise, Kinder surprise. But that's never gonna happen in our country. So yeah, what we can do is just try to protect each other from the potential harm. We're already living in the nightmare version of Earth. You can imagine this Earth without video games. That's even worse. But of course, it's always going to be when it's too late. Because people don't care.
Well, you can... Well, when you say you can... The only thing that you can do is you actually can try to protect each other. Yeah, you definitely can try to do that, but the problem is, like, you're talking about addiction. And this is the thing about addiction. When you're talking to a person who's actually addicted to a behavior or to a substance or anything like that, you cannot actually have a logical conversation with that person and sit him down or sit her down and tell her, like, this is what you are being a victim of. You are being manipulated by a certain game, giving you certain clues to make you feel certain things or certain trigger, to activate certain triggers to make you do a certain behavior for their own financial gain. First of all, people don't like to be told that they are, because most people, when you tell them that you are, let's say for example, you take someone and tell them that you are a victim of this game, people don't like to appear like they don't know what they are doing. So the first reaction, they're going to be telling you that I know what I'm doing. Second of all,
No,
these
we don't.
people.
No, we don't.
So, also for these people, this game becomes like, well, not an escape, but like, at least in a country like Algeria, these games becomes like certain of declaration of existence, because life is so shitty. They escape to these games, and especially if he thinks that he is good at it. For someone who is not good at anything, who doesn't have any hobbies, any occupations, and he's not really particularly good at anything, and then he starts playing, let's say, PUBG, and he starts to think that he's
Oh no, there's the
good
big
at
ones
something.
that you don't need to think too much about it. There's the big four: PUBG, Free Fire, Fortnite. Well, not just four. There's more now. PUBG,
There's
Free
like
Fire.
it's called like
Not even League of Legends. These
not League
have
of
fallen
Legends.
behind. So you have Call of Duty, FIFA, PUBG.
Raid.
Raid Shadow Legends. Now
Yeah.
it's a bit of a niche. The big ones is FIFA, PUBG, Free Fire, Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone for those who can afford it, and Call of Duty on mobile. And I think that's it. That's probably it. There are others, like I said, and like you said, like Raid Shadow Legends. I mean, I have an entire server of friends who play and worship Raid Shadow Legends. And trust me, even they got emotionally attached to the game, just like it was predicted. And when I say I hate the game, they get defensive. They get angry at me saying I hate the game.
Yeah, it has something to do with the personality of the person too, though.
Of course, it's psychological as well.
I mean, you can take someone, I don't know, let's say you talk to someone who likes to play Street Fighter, for example, and you tell him like the last 2 or last 3 Street Fighter games actually are shit. It depends on the person. One person who has like some sort of an insecurity and he has like this illogical attachment to the game is going to just lose his shit and he's going to be like putting it on you, like, oh, it's you don't get the game, or you're not good at it, and that this is why you are saying it. And you can end up talking to a logical person who would actually understand. Maybe he would like an extreme fan, and he would probably like even like the shittiest installment of the game, but he still would admit that, like, yeah, it's not as good as it used to be, but I play it because I'm a fan. So it depends on the person and the personality of that person. So you cannot tell how much of it is actually addiction and how much of it is the personality of the person. But an addicted person...
Yeah, it's just enhanced by the personality, it goes without saying, of course. Even I get emotionally attached in the games that I play.
Of course. So you cannot tell how much of it is actually addiction, as I was saying. And when it comes to addiction, that person, even though if he knows that that game is actually causing him, let's say he's playing PUBG and it's actually beating him financially, he can see that and he knows that, but he cannot quit because he's hooked. And this is actually the very troubling fact that there is a lot of people who actually know that they are being exploited by these companies, but these companies, the only thing they care about is actually trying to craft the art of manipulation to be able to get as much people as possible to be
I mean, you heard the
that
guy
game.
on the video talking. Even though he knows it's addictive and everything, he still falls for it. And we're not going to be superior or anything. We're the same.
Yeah, of course. I mean, here it comes to the psychological argument, because as we talked the other day, not everyone is likely to be addicted as everybody else. Some people are more prone to become addicted, not only to video games, because they can. If you have an addictive personality, you can get addicted to video game. You can get addicted to drugs, to gambling, to pornography, to anything that actually your brain can get some dopamine from. You can get addicted to it. I mean, even if you talk to... Earlier you talked about being addicted to the gym. I mean, if the gym is for you is some sort of behavior...
We're not here, obviously. Not in our country. It's still too early. They'll probably get maybe 1 or 2 or something of the sort, but it's not as prominent as in the United States, for example, where there's this whole
Yeah,
subculture
definitely.
revolving around gyms and consuming, steroids and proteins and shakes and all those things, and people suffering injury after injury. It's not that level yet, of
The
course.
interesting thing is not actually, at least from what I personally see, in a lot of cases, even if you talk about like the United States, and most of these people are not addicted actually to working out. They are addicted to well, because if you look, for example, in the American culture, you start to always, when it's about summer, you start people talking about your summer body or your beach body.
Surprisingly, that's
So
a
these
thing.
people are not
That's
actually.
in this country, that's a thing now. The summer body thing.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've heard kids talk about this. They don't care
Well,
now because it's the winter.
This is disturbing.
Trust me, I heard it with my own ears. There's a gym near us. You know it very well. And they were talking about this. So, yeah, it's a thing here, actually. They only exercise then. And they don't care about it the rest of the day.
Yeah, for them, it's not about working out. And this is when you're talking about like substance consumption. Well, I'm not talking about drugs, but for example, I don't know, like protein powder. When you talk about steroid, these people are actually, because if he was actually addicted to working out, he's going to be working his way out to that, I don't know, to that body or to that physique that he wants to achieve. But since they are addicted to, well, maybe one of them is addicted to, I don't know, to go into some sort of competition and taking the first prize, or for someone else is like just going to the beach and trying to show up his body. For someone else is actually, I don't know, hooking up with chicks. So everybody has like this deeper layer. When you look at it, it has something to do with like an addiction to his personality. One of them is addicted to, I don't know, to sex. One of them is addicted to like attention. I mean, a lot of, and this everywhere. It's not just like one country. Like it's like human nature. People, I think the most thing that people are addicted to is actually attention, which leads them to sometimes being in like unhealthy some sort of relationship, even with like not just with your partners, even with your parents. Some people actually can continue to have some sort of an abusive relationship with their parents, because their parents are the only people that are actually willing to give them that attention that they wanted.
Yep, something of the sort. But that's the thing, is that at the end of the day, these things are numerous. But since we are more into the gaming aspect of things, I mean, these things can be treated, so to say. It's like a society thing. But for video games, which is the last refuge of many of us, well, it's easy. You demolish the entire thing and just move on with your life. And that's the biggest problem with these things. There needs to be some sort of a discussion, even if it's not national-wide. There needs to be a discussion. Kids and the young ones should be aware of this, but they're not, and they don't care.
I mean, of course, if they are going to take some sort of draconian measures, yeah, they can just go ahead and ban everything.
I mean, here's the deal. One of the idiots that I live near to, he not know me. He used to know me because we used to go to a cyber cafe when we were younger, and he was telling me, do I play PUBG Mobile, for example? And I told him, no, that game is outdated. I don't play it. And he actually took it as a personal offense. My mother was with me because he sells vegetables and stuff. He's that kind of guy. And he got offended, and then he started asking me the obvious questions. So, are you married? Do you have kids? What's your job? So that he can feel better about himself.
Well, this is what we're talking about. For them, it's like it is something tied to their identity, as I said. For example, if you're talking about guys who are actually working in vegetable store, I mean, his existence is actually so okay, I don't want to use an offensive word maybe to the people who take that trade, but when you
there are
work,
many who are good and honest.
when you
Just
work,
not this kid.
yeah,
And of course, he's that type of guy who lets his kids play outside. He doesn't care about them. But basically, his life is rubbish, and well, he feels threatened by my existence.
I mean, we had an example. You remember when we started playing Sekiro?
Yeah.
And there is, well, you know who he is. I'm not going to be mentioning any names. You remember he went ahead and he said that he finished the game in how long? Like 1 day?
Something of the sort, yeah.
Remember? Yeah. Which I thought that he was lying, and you said the same. So what makes an adult person lies about beating a game?
Yeah, it's stupid, to be honest.
Yeah, it's the same thing for these people, because for him, beating the game in 1 day says something about him, like a statement of existence, like I'm that good and I'm that. Well, this is the thing: when you live shitty life, you are trying to feel good about yourself in any way possible. And if games makes you feel good about yourself, yeah, definitely, you're going to be taking that way too personally. You're going to be taking that way taking that to heart. And if anyone makes any statement about that game, is going to be making a statement about you. So I wouldn't be surprised if that person would get like offended if you talked or said something bad about PUBG, because probably he's putting like a couple of hours of PUBG a day. If you tell him it's a stupid, so you are actually telling him that he's spending a couple of hours of his day doing something stupid. So this is the thing. And this is the thing about, and more or less,
And that's why I think we can't
childish
even
behavior,
have the
because
conversation. It's because people are too emotional to even think rationally. I'll say, so it's gambling, I'm wasting my life, so what? Sue me.
Yeah, this is, as we said earlier, when you try to talk to someone in that position, the first thing is going to just like say, yeah, I know what I'm doing. You don't know better than me, and you're not going to be telling me how to live my life, which is the argument of the person who doesn't know how he's living his life. But it's not something that you can solve on a local level, because it's like a global pandemic, and to solve it, you need the involvement of, as I said, like of institution that actually dictates the law. It's not something that you can lie. But the amazing thing is like how the audacity of the gaming companies and how they try to mask it and how they try to justify it. I mean, when I watched the video, I mean, I'm not surprised that Polygon is actually trying to defend this model of business of using loot boxes and microtransactions. I mean, this is one of the things that I love the most about Hideo Kojima, is the fact that he has the reputation and he has the fan base, and if he wants to make a game that includes microtransactions, he's going to be making a shitload of money. And for Kojima, he just started like a new studio, and at least the way it seems to me, when you start a new studio, the thing that you need the most is financing. Even though that he is actually covered by Sony, someone as ambitious as Hideo Kojima, probably the next project is going to be very expensive to cover. So the more money you have, the more assurance you're going to be having for your next project and your future project. But still, he made a video game that, to get the video game, you have to enjoy the online multiplayer aspect of it. He could have done so much. I mean, he was able to implement so many microtransaction systems in there. But
it could work. It's the norm nowadays, so it's easy to work.
The norm is also because he is such a good video game designer, he could make those microtransaction systems work for the game to enhance your gaming experience. But since he is a person who actually believes in, well, as we were talking, as well, he said in the video earlier, if you are a good video game designer, you don't need to be hooking people with cheap gambling psychological tricks.
Yeah.
And all the other things that I thought about when he was talking in the video is actually the gamers themselves. I think the loot boxes and this whole thing is becoming more and more popular because the new generation of gamers is actually the generation, how it's called, the achievement generation. I'm not saying that, well, my generation or I personally better than anyone else who's, I don't know, let's say a 15 years old gamer. But I remember when I started playing video games, I grew up playing like video games like Resident Evil, like Parasite Eve, what's called the game?
Yeah, Parasite Eve, yeah.
Parasite Eve, and I don't know, Metal Gear, and games that actually were based on either skills, like when you used to play like King of Fighters, Samurai Shadow, and games that are actually purely skill games. Or you can play games like Resident Evil, which is like, well, it's a skill game, but it's still more about puzzle solving, like weapon and arms and ammo management and that sort of things. Then came in the generation that actually plays the game just for the achievements. When video games became, like you have seen, I don't know, in Tomb Raider, for example, when the game tells you what you should do every single step of the way. When you remove the skills from video game, you're going to be left with the aesthetics and the achievement. I finished the game, and it goes from there to video games like Overwatch, where people became more interested in the skins than the gameplay. He doesn't play the game for the skills. He's playing the game for the aesthetic of the game.
Which is weird for me because I play the game every day. And I can't see this.
Yeah, but the problem
You'd think
is
that someone like me, who's been playing his entire life, and literally his entire life, video games, would be inclined to these things. And yet, no, I can see them clearly. Telling you that I do not want to buy a skin is obviously wrong. Yes, I do. But I abstain because sometimes it's not good. And you need to realize it.
Yeah, your approach to video games and theirs is not the same.
It's like when I tell people that PUBG Mobile is bad, they think I'm telling them not to play them. No, play your PUBG Mobile, play it every day, be competitive if you want to be competitive, but beware that this is a huge predatory game that is there to consume your life and money.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but the thing that I'm not saying that it is what it is. I'm just saying what I think might be a part of the problem is the generation that grew up with the PlayStation Network and the online gaming, where it's all about the appearances, it is about the achievements, it's not about the skills. Because from what I've seen, people who actually grew up playing offline cared more about skills than anything else, because when you play a video game online, you are adding like the online interactivity to it, the online community stuff to it. I'm not saying that you cannot have an online game that is based on skills, but a lot of online games tend to not only be based on skills. This is what I'm trying to say. The newer generation plays a lot of online games, and even the games that are offline are much easier than how games used to be back when, I don't know, the PlayStation 1 era and the Nintendo 64 era and the NES era, of course. So I think what means a game, you can clearly see it when you start seeing what journalists are saying about video games. I mean, even easy, I don't remember. I think yesterday I read an article about about how the easy mode of Cyberpunk is not easy enough.
Please.
So I think this...
Oh, speaking of which, I just want to interrupt you for a second. I don't know, I think it was PC Gamer or something, one of those articles telling, because the reviews have started coming, and one of the articles are like, oh, the game is undercooked, and there are many bugs, and the game feels lackluster and everything. At the same time, that person didn't really play the game. No upgrades, same weapons, didn't even switch a weapon, didn't even do side quests. I'm like, what? How can you judge if you don't even play the game correctly?
Okay, we're going to go back to the Polygon part.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I'm not shocked that Polygon said that, because Polygon and mainstream video game journalism is actually a shell for these companies. And everybody knows that if they're going to say something bad about something or a company or studio, they're going to be, I don't know, cut off the loop when it comes to the next title. And this is the thing. I've seen like 8 reviews. All of them complained about a lot of things about Cyberpunk, and all of them gave it a score over 90.
Yeah, it's 10 out of 10, but the game is bad.
Yeah.
Okay, paradox,
So
well, yeah.
I'm going to bitch about this game, but I'm going to give it a good score. So Cyberpunk going to send me a review copy next time when they release, I don't know,
Yeah,
the
they don't
next
want to
title.
be on the bad side of CD Projekt. They kind of need to be anti-hype because it's good for them, but at the same time, they don't want to lose favor, which is dumb. If the game is bad, we're going to say it's bad. If the game is not, if the game is good but have some bugs, which it will 100%, then say it. Don't try to break the hype because you just feel like it. It's a complicated, yeah, it's another field that is complicated. I'm just going to be waiting, playing the game, and having my own opinion. Because to be honest, I don't know why should I listen to someone who has no experience in playing video games. He's just a journalist, or she's just a journalist who knows how to write an article. Suddenly she's writing a review for a video game that she can't even play correctly. Strange.
Yeah, that's for you and for me, but there's a lot of people who actually follow these reviews, and these reviewers actually take their word for, I don't know, for something, and they actually listen to them.
Yeah. I mean,
and when it comes to
I'm
not only Cyberpunk, because you have seen a couple of video.
I was going to say, I'm suspecting it's not going to be as polished as advertised.
I mean, that's something obvious, and this is the same thing we saw with The Witcher. When we have seen like the gameplay of The Witcher in the E3 back in the day, and when the game was released, there was quite the difference. But did that make The Witcher a bad game? No. It was I mean, I personally, I'm not going to say that I played The Witcher 100%, but I played the main story with some side quests for like 50 hours or 60 hours, and I enjoyed it so much. I mean, we shouldn't get caught only about the graphics, because especially when it comes to an RPG game like Cyberpunk, the story and the branching of the story and the decision tree makes a great deal to how the game can immerse you in that universe of Cyberpunk, and how you're going to be emotionally bought in with the story and the characters. So I'm not going to put so much emphasis on the graphics, and the graphics is something they can fix. A couple of months later on, they can release some sort of a patch, or I don't know, the video game, the year, like the video game of the year edition, because it's going to be taking the video game of the year next year, and that's something that I don't think anyone can argue with it. So it's going to take it. But as I said, the most annoying thing is like how they complain and they try to demonize the game. Because let's get honest, when it comes to, let's say, Polygon and GameSpot and all these, let's call it the mainstream journalist, they are ideologically possessed. In the same way they all gave 10 out of 10 to you know what, to The Last of Us Part 2. It's the same thing that they are complaining about CD Red Projekt. The only difference is they cannot give CD Red Projekt a bad grade, because you know why? Because next time they're going to be, I don't know, as you said, they're going to be on the bad side of CD Red Projekt. Anyway, as I said, I'm not surprised that like Polygon and mainstream journalism defend microtransactions, because probably they are being paid by these companies to say so.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that it's not just them. It's also the children, well, the players, not just the children. It's also the players. There's always someone in some sort of a comment section defending the game. Like I said, I'm pretty involved in Path of Exile. And every time the loot box problems arise, there's always someone telling us, okay, no, this is a free-to-play game, and, that's the only way to support the company, so just pay it or don't play at all. Stupid stuff. And then it devolves into a conversation about, should I play the game, should I not be playing the game? Because I'm passionate about the game, I am playing the game. And all of those discussions, instead of just focusing on the stupid fact that the loot boxes in this game are ludicrous, the prices are astronomical, and this company that is now owned by Tencent do not really need this petty money in order to survive. It's a stupid concept that is long outdated, but they still use it. Even they still use it. Oh, we need these to survive, so help us. Survive from what? You're owned by the biggest company on the planet on these things. So survive what exactly?
Well,
Stop lying.
This is the lie that everybody, it's a lie that everybody has been buying into, because how they are switching to this model because they are finding it more profitable than the previous model. And the way they did is like they started by complaining that we cannot survive because of piracy. People are pirating our games, and we're going to be out of business soon. So the way they, and maybe some company at the beginning thought that maybe the model of free to play is actually something that's going to be good. But I think then these bigger studios like Activision, EA, and Tencent, and all these companies that actually hold these big titles started to notice that this free-to-play model is actually paying more. And they did not choose it because they wanted to survive. They chose it because they wanted to make more and more money. Because their argument about how piracy is actually ruining the industry is not true, because I remember in 2017, the European Commission made a 300 pages report about how piracy is actually helping the video game industry.
Yeah, he was hitting, yeah.
So their argument is flawed. They did not do it to survive. They did it because they saw that the free-to-play with microtransaction and loot boxes and all that is actually more paying business model. So they switched to it out of greed and not out of survival, as they are trying to make themselves look like, because they're trying to make themselves look like some sort of victims. And we love you and we love the gamers, and we didn't want to go out of the business, so we decided to adopt this selfless business model where we're going to be working on a game for 10 years, well, not 10 years, for a couple of years, and then we put it back for you to play for free. So to support us, please buy the skin or buy the loot box and give us some money to survive, while they are actually making billions and billions of dollars. And it's not even a fair, at least it's not a fair business model in terms of how much work they put into the games. Because for example, one of the most grossing video game in the free-to-play section is Clash of Titans.
Yep.
And if you look into Clash of Titans, it is the video game that 10 people who can, I don't know, 10, 20, team of 20 people who work for a year can make that game. And they are actually making...
And it makes millions, yeah.
Yeah. The last time I checked, it makes $80 million a month. So how is that a fair compensation for your work? Yes, I mean, I'm not saying you don't deserve it, but don't try to tell me that this free-to-play model is barely paying for your expenses.
That's so pitiful. They need money, the poor people. But again, like the video in the video was said, it's all tricks to make people just live with this and make it something normal. It's absolutely normal to do this. Absolutely normal to buy loot boxes. Absolutely normal to spend your money on this way. It's fine because we don't care if you don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that people can do is actually just try to spend awareness, at least. If there is some people who are actually a victim of that, but they're not aware of it, or at least they cannot pinpoint what they should do. Well, not what they should do, what actually is doing that to them. So you would help them, yeah. You are being a victim, not because you are a weak person, or I don't know, you just happen to be an addicted person or an addict, but there is companies who are actually putting so much effort and trouble into making something so addictive for you.
Yep. That's the thing. But yeah, it's just coming back to our country.
And as I said, I think the only solution for this problem is actually the government.
It's fine.
It's like when a couple of years ago in the United States, like there's this businessman who actually bought a company that actually manufactures the insulin. I think it's called insulin in English.
Insulin,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is.
The insulin injection for diabetes or diabetic people. Purchased that company, and I think he doubled or tripled the price of the insulin in one day.
Yeah.
Like they woke up tomorrow and they found the price doubled or tripled. So what the government did is actually they brought him for questioning, and in the end they managed to make him change the prices to the previous prices of the insulin. But that took, I think maybe it's because they take something like that more seriously, because it has more eminent effect on the health of these people. But in the end, it's the same example of like savage capitalism, of people taking advantage of people's vulnerabilities. And the government should do something about it. But as you said, I mean, when it comes to gaming, I don't know, even they don't care, or they don't take it seriously, or maybe there's something behind the scenes when it comes, I don't know, to lobbying or something like this. But definitely they're not putting the effort into it.
Yeah, they just ban everything. It's the scorched earth policy. And that's even what's even funnier for me is that you think, okay, so this sort of conversation should be with the other content creators. I'm talking about Algeria, of course. With the other content creators that do play these games. You think that, okay, we'd probably have a conversation with them about this. And they would spread awareness, because there is a rise in streamers. There is a rise when people, I personally know 2 or 3 that are extremely popular that play these games. And they themselves get offended when I talk about this. I'm like, oh, come on. It's like, okay, we can't talk about this. You get offended, you remove me from your groups because you are offended. And instead of having a normal conversation, you just do the childish one. They don't give you any chance. And they know they are on the wrong. And even though I don't care at the end of the day, I shouldn't really care about these things. It's just that something that touches me as well. If you want to be, if you want to be talking about the greedy aspect of this, I am going to be infected as well. If the government decides to destroy everything, I am affected. I used to have a Patreon. Now my Patreon is banned. Well, I think I should just use a VPN and still access it, but it's banned just because of one person. 45 million other Algerians, or 44.9 million Algerians, will not be accessing Patreon because of one person who've been.
I don't understand how they came up to this decision. I mean, what did this person do to justify banning a service for a whole country?
You know who I'm talking about, of course. DZ.
Well, actually, I don't. I'm not.
DZ something. What's his name?
Oh, so
the idiot, the stupid idiot. So he's in France, or he was in Germany, or wherever in one of those countries. He's kept making videos, talking trash, and people were paying him via Patreon. And they found out about being paid, people paying him via Patreon. They consider it that this is the foreign hands helping him, and they banned Patreon. Screw you and everyone who benefits from Patreon. And he's been caught now, so there's no need to ban Patreon. But you know what? It's going to remain banned indefinitely. No one cares.
Definitely. I mean, even without that, I mean, last year I was trying to link my Visa card to my PayPal account, and I mean, this is how random things are in this country. I was trying to link I think I told you, I was trying to link my Visa card to my PayPal account. And PayPal said that my bank rejected a link in PayPal to their account. And when I went to the bank and I was asking, like, why can't I link my Visa card to my account, they said something like the dumbest shit ever. They told me that, oh, we cannot have business with PayPal because PayPal is not, it's hard to prove transactions with PayPal or something like this, and this is why we don't. And the funny thing is, like, if you get out of that bank, the bank next to it provides the service and gives you a Visa card which you can link to the PayPal account.
It's just a load of rubbish, this entire thing. And as usual, not many people are talking about this. They just try to find the solution to scam the system instead of having an honest conversation and making this legal. I mean, at the end of the day, no one cares about the black market in exchange and everything. And then when someone loses 70 million for the famous robbery, people are talking more about the robbers than the fact that that person couldn't or could have avoided the entire situation if there was just, places where you can just cash in your money and get euros and everything. But they're not going to be doing that, and the result, predatory systems are always going to be here.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree. They never try to face the problem, but they always just try to find a solution for the symptoms. But that's the result of the reality of it, because right now, what we have is not chaos, because a lot of people tend to think of it as chaos. What we have here is actually what is called, at least I personally call systematic chaos.
Yep.
These things are wanted to be that way.
Yep. It's like that million papers you need to get from the local, places, from your birth certificate to all those stupid stuff. And then when you finish your folder, file, whatever you want to call it, they immediately toss it on the trash because they don't actually need it. All they need is your ID card. And that's it. That's all they need.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, bureaucracy has been always a good tool to tire people down into submission. But, I mean, they like things the way they are, because one of the main reasons why they are against any form of, they have been for so many years. Recently, they are starting to change a little bit. They have been always against online payment because they don't want traceability. They want everything to be vaguely and completely, untraceable. Because, for someone who doesn't live in a country like this, he wouldn't really get it. But for you and me, it's completely obvious because there's so many people in high positions, filthy rich, businessmen who are actually dealing these shady transactions. And if there was some sort of traceability system and everything goes through the banks and everything being tracked in an electronic digital way, safe way, there would be always a trace that would prove these shady deals. But they don't want that. They want everything to happen this way. They don't want to have a foreign exchange market or a service in the banks, because they are glad, because they are the ones who are actually allowing the foreign exchange currency, and they are the ones who are actually getting it out of the banks and selling it out in the streets in the black market, because they are making profit out of it. So as I said, it's systematic chaos, and it didn't change, and it's not going to change anytime soon. And people are fine with it. As you said, they are always trying to find a way to avoid it or just work within the limitations of wherever they have, instead of trying to fix the root of the problem.
Yeah. Problem is, the other problem as I'm thinking about this is, of course I'm talking about the video games and stuff, is that even those, like, I can try to set up some sort of a conversation medium, like we can try to do some sort of a podcast, and we can get these particular persons to talk about this. The problem is that, I don't know, I'm not talking about intelligence-wise, but they're so far disconnected from this reality that I don't think they're even gonna be accepting to talk about these things. They, just like the COVID, to be honest, they will only discuss about COVID when one of their loved ones dies from it, when they see it with their own eyes. And even then, sometimes it's not enough.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if
we'll
you're
wait
talking
until
about...
it happens, and then maybe we'll discuss it. Until it's like too late, okay. Oh, so it's too late? Well, let's have a discussion then. Let's talk about why we destroyed the gaming in our country. Oh, that's why. Well, whatever. Let's go back to dominoes now. And playing cards and playing football outside. Because, well, people go advance in technologies and everything. We just keep going backwards.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of the... Well, I'm not going to say the nature of the country, but the nature of the population. I mean, it's the same thing when it comes to the internet services. When you go to them and try to talk about... I told you the other day when they were saying that how would say it in English? The ADSL. Well, not the ADSL. I forgot how it's called in English. When they said all services have a limitation of 1 megabyte, well, megabit, byte anyway, of upload, because for them that seems like a normal thing. When you try to talk to them, I don't know about, like, let's say you try to explain to them that I want to stream. So when I'm actually opting for 20 megabytes of, I don't know, bandwidth, I expect something that would allow me to stream at the same time, not to get 1 megabyte.
Especially talking about fiber, not the normal DSL. DSL is, you can understand, okay, it's fine, whatever. But if you get fiber and you still get the same upload rate as normal internet, then you start posing questions. And that's what happened to one of those content creators. He got fiber, lo and behold, it's just 1 megabyte, exactly like you have in, 4 megabytes, 8 megabytes, or 20. It's all the same. It doesn't matter for them.
Yeah, and the amazing thing, like when you try to talk to them about it and you try to argue with them, you seem like you're talking with something, like you aren't completely talking crazy talk to them. They don't understand they don't see something like, for example, they won't take you seriously. They think they are some sort of a joke, and you're talking about something that, like, what the hell is streaming? Who does this person think he is? And I don't know, it's just like...
It's beyond
I struggle to understand people.
I mean, not long ago, the term ping was already being something that they don't understand, latency, ping, and all those things.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they are. They
Talking about
have a
streaming,
knowledge
I mean,
gap, but
I should wake up, you know, talk about
beside the
streaming.
knowledge gap, I don't know.
And I was reading earlier on the news that you needed some sort. There was like new laws for making websites and doing, I don't know, media stuff. I think I'm hoping it's just, you know, political stuff. And they were like setting the terms. You need to only have one website, you need to have a degree, and you need to have 3 years of experience, and you need to declare where the income is coming for this website, and it is illegal to have it. You know, I was reading some horrifying stuff, to be honest, because if it is not just for political things, you know, for the news, then this entire thing is doomed. So basically, if by any means or by any chance, if I become successful, by default, because of the law, I am outlawed, I am illegal, because there is some foreign hand. I like the term foreign hands, they like to use it a lot. Foreign hand, shade zones, and protocol. These are 3 words they use every 2 seconds in the news. But because I'm receiving donations from people from around the planet, those donations are considered that people from outside the country are helping me to spread this information. It's like I am against this country by streaming. And I am quite intrigued and horrified, to be honest. If it is something about politics, then yeah, whatever, who cares? It's, you know, you have to be doing politics, you have to be, it's like, okay, I'm thinking about if you need to be having some sort of a journal or, you know, like a channel on the internet, you know, like, for example, something our country news or our town news or something that just talks about all of the things that are happening in our country, you know. When someone blocks the road, they talk about it, and so on and so forth. Then it's fine by me, to be honest. It's all right. I can understand.
To this job.
But if it is global, then it is time to leave this bloody country, because
makes it easy.
by definition, I am already outlawed. By definition, I am already breaking the rules, breaking the law, because I've already received donation from outsiders from the United States and Europe.
Keep your word.
So basically, because of this new law, I am illegal to stream. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. I was reading it earlier on the news, and I couldn't believe this. Am I that unlucky?
Well, they can't do much to you. I mean,
that's what I'm trying to understand. It's like they will come to you and ask you, "What is this you're doing?" Streaming. Okay, so this is media. And where is your website? Of course, I will have a website. Do you have a degree? And you need to have a journalism degree. So journalism degree and 3 years. I can cover that. It so happens that my sister have a journalism degree. So I can declare it on my sister, no problem. But then they will ask me about the money. Okay, so where this money is coming from? And eventually I need to pay the taxes. Let's just say I make, I don't know, $10,000 a month from streaming. I'm going to be subjected to the taxes. Probably twice. The taxes from other countries, I don't know, from the United States, for example, and from my country. So when I'm trying to declare the taxes, they will ask me, where did I get this money? And I need to provide proof where this money is coming from. And as soon as I do that, the cops are going to be knocking on my doors because, well, as it so appears, because of this new law, I am prohibited from doing this if I am not qualified. And if I am qualified, I am prohibited to do this because this money is foreign and it doesn't belong to, this country. So basically, I'm against this. I'm some sort of a spy or something. I'm going to be trialed and labeled as a traitor or something of a sort. It's, I'm probably reading too much into this. This goes without saying. It's probably something that doesn't have anything to do with me. But what if they decide to do this?
They mean is actually
it took some time.
Media outlets in the sense of like news outlets and political news outlets, and because that's when it gets into this
That's the thing, they
Paranoia-
said
paranoia.
media outlets. They didn't specify political or news. And that's
But
what's
you're not a
annoying.
media outlet. You're not a media outlet.
Well, they can consider me
You're
a
actually
media
just a
outlet.
streamer.
Yeah, well, they can easily consider me a media outlet. I am. Who cares?
Well, first of all,
Need help with something? Blessings.
you can receive money without, well, as long as the money does not go into like some sort of a bank here. Basically, you're not receiving money, even if you receive money on a different country. First of all, they cannot really know your financials. If your money does not go through a bank here, they can already tell your financial. So you can set up an account in a different country and receive your, let's say, your donations there. So first of all,
Which
they
is
can
what I
already-
need to do basically by using Paytera, for example.
Yeah, definitely, that's what you need to do. And they cannot really tell who's actually streaming. Because, well, I mean, you have traffic with, I don't know, with Twitch server, but I don't think they're going to be going that deep into trying to figure out your traffic and where
I
your
don't think they have
upload
the
traffic
knowledge.
is.
I don't think they're
Yeah,
smart
well,
enough. Jane Messiah.
Probably. So basically, I mean, I think it's just they like to use these fancy words. I like when they start talking about like online criminality and the laws toward that is geared toward online criminality. They start talking with these fancy like, I mean, they start talking about blackmail and like hacking and all that sort of things. And do you think like these people actually have a solid plan and they have the technology to actually track hackers and I don't know, blackmailers and all that? But in the end, they don't have shit. It's just about talk. It's just they like to talk. They try to make themselves sound as if they are trying to do something good. Which
No, you got cut. No, it appears we lost our friend for now. Hopefully it comes back. Hopefully it comes back. But yeah, that's another subject basically from what we divulged. I'm going to try and set up some sort of a conversation on this domain. I know I'm relatively unknown on the scene and probably not many are going to be talking about this, but the thing is, I would try. Like I said, the object or the subject and the goal is not to make people not play these games. Play. I play League of Legends, or played, I stopped recently. I play Path of Exile, I played Quake, I play Overwatch. I play a lot of Overwatch on this channel, if you follow me. And I play World of Warcraft and all these games. I do so. But we need to do this with awareness, is what I'm saying. The music is a bit too loud. That's what I'm talking about. That these kids should at least be aware. At least a certain percentage should be aware.
Yeah.
Disconnection, yeah.
More proof of how the internet is good.
They caught wind of us and they cut us off.
They have already figured out that you are running some sort of a media outlet,
Yeah,
an
shady.
illegal media outlet.
Shady business, and I need to stop. I don't.
Yeah,
to be
definitely.
honest, I am not surprised if such thing come to pass. I know it's outlandish and everything, and there's no such thing. I mean, there's no real streamers. There are some who are popular, some who are making money actually, making a lot of it, and but it's not something that is kind of a threat to them. But like I said, it's not too outlandish. I mean, like I said, Patreon, for example. All of a sudden, it's something that no one ever heard about. Only a few know about it. All of a sudden, cut. Bye-bye. So I wouldn't find it surprising if they just decide that we are doing something illegal and we should be stopped. That's basically me. That's basically
Well, if they don't-
warning to leave the country as fast as I can, but yeah. It's never gonna happen that quickly. If I could, I would.
Yeah, I mean, they can prove that you are making money. I think the only thing they would really care about is if you are making money. And if they can really prove, like, on paper that you are making money, they can do anything to you. But yeah, I mean, they keep coming up with this crazy talk. Like, not long ago, they come up with this law saying that what they wanted is, like, any website that belongs to, like, an Algerian company or anything like that, they said it's not legal to host it in a data center outside of Algeria because blah 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 blah, national security, and the same old song and the same old rhyme.